Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV. It's a Canadian game. Brought to you by Molson Canadian.
It's December 30th, 1967, and the expansion St. Louis Blues are in Toronto for the first time to face the Leafs. This is Molson Canadian Maple Leaf Classics on Leafs TV. The first-year Blues have Red Berenson, Frank St. Marseille, and the Plager brothers. The Leafs are led by veterans Frank Mahovlich, Dave Keon, and George Armstrong. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Joe Bowen, and welcome to another edition of Maple Leaf Classics, the Sunday night edition, right here on Leafs TV. The National Hockey League has expanded by 6 teams in 1967-68. The Leafs are coming off their last Stanley Cup win in 1967, but they have struggled coming out of the gate. In the spring themselves, the Leafs are in the Eastern Division and are finding themselves currently trailing Chicago and Boston as the year draws to a close. The St. Louis Blues have struggled in the early going as well, and they find themselves currently 5th in the West Division with 27 points, a full 10 points back of the first place Philadelphia Flyers. The Kings of the Corded Castles tonight are former Canadiens national team hero Seth Martin for the St. Louis Blues, and for the Maple Leafs, it's the veteran, the China Wall, Johnny Bower. It is December 30th, 1967, the Leafs and the St. Louis Blues, and this is Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV. Berenson will be the only 20-goal scorer for the St. Louis Blues this season. Frank St. Marseille and Jerry Melnick would fire 16 and 15 respectively. The Leafs are led by Dave Keon, Bob Pulford, and Tim Horton. Scotty Bowman ranks as the winningest coach in National Hockey League history, and last year replaced the legendary Toe Blake by winning his 9th Stanley Cup with his 3rd team. His career started in St. Louis with the Blues, whom he took to the Stanley Cup final in the first 3 years of operation for the franchise. Later, he would move back to Montreal, where he got his coaching start in the Canadian system and pilot the Habs to many Stanley Cups. 2 more would follow in Pittsburgh, and yet more in Detroit, including... Was that the ring from this? Oh, no, you haven't got it yet. No. Welcome, and thanks for coming to visit with us here at Leafs TV. And we're going to take you back, really, to your coaching infancy, I guess. And really, Scotty, when you think about it, this season starts... You aren't the coach of the St. Louis Blues, are you?
No, actually, Lynn Patrick. I had a year left in a contract with the Canadiens, coach the junior team, but I'd coached Craig Patrick, Lynn Patrick's son. And Lynn got the job as general manager and coach of the Blues, and then he came to Montreal. And I think the only way he could get me out of the contract was to say I was going to be the coach. But I knew all along I was going to be his assistant general manager, assistant coach, and the plan was for me to take over in year 2.
Now, expansion goes through. The Montreal Canadiens magically are able to get people like Jacques Lemaire, Serge Savard, and various others put back on their protected list. People don't take them, but what's the pickings like as the St. Louis Blues go through this?
Well, I think when you look at they protected, I understand, about 11 players, the existing 6 teams, and it was like a pick and fill. So if we took player number 12, then the other team would fill with 13. But we were fortunate, I think, in St. Louis. We had a bit of a bad start because there was 6 teams. They had 2 drafts, the goalie draft and the player draft. And we finished dead last in the player draft. But we picked up Jim Roberts, who was a pretty versatile player. He could play forward, he could play defense. I'd known him, and I'd coached him in junior, and he'd been with a few cup winners in Montreal. So that was our pick. It was like the 6th pick of the first round. But if you picked last in the regular player draft, you couldn't pick lower than 3rd in the goalie draft, and we got the 3rd pick, and I don't know the reason for it, but we got Glenn Hall, and that was a huge, I think people might have thought that he might have retired. He was 36, I think.
Or he was painting his barn again.
Yeah, well, that's another story. I visited his farm about a year later with the owner to sign him in August, and he didn't have a barn, and that was funny.
He was always painting it, though, for the Blackhawks, wasn't he?
That was his best story, and nobody ever knew it until we really got out there. But that was a huge acquisition for us. I would say of all the acquisitions we made over the first year or 2, Glenn Hall was the real stalwart.
Prior to this game on December the 30th, you pulled the trigger on a 4-for-2 deal with the New York Rangers, which really puts your team off and running.
After the slow start, I think we were 4-10-2. Lynn Patrick he called me one night and he said, Scotty, I I really want to just concentrate on managing, and I want to elevate you to be the head coach a little bit earlier than we thought. I wasn't too anxious at the time because of our record, but I'd spent a lot of time watching our farm team in Kansas City play, and I knew there was 3 or 4 players there. So he said, you know who's down there, bring them up. And we brought up Frank St. Marseille, we brought up Gary Sabrin. So we had 3 or 4 players that we brought up right away. But we were very fortunate that the Rangers had a strong team. And the Hawks were good. Chicago was a strong team, but they didn't have anybody. The Rangers had nobody. Emil Francis was the manager to really go up against Bobby Hull. And Ron Stewart had a great start with the Blues. He was scoring goals. He was more a defensive type player, and he really appealed to Emil. They wanted that kind of player. Berenson was like a 4th centerman. It was really strange because he hadn't scored a goal the year before. He'd been injured. And Barclay Plager was playing in Buffalo, but I had Barclay in junior. So Lynn leaned on me, and I said, I'm sure Barclay Plager is going to be a good NHLer. He was 24, 25, and I said, with Berenson, I said, the owner got the book out, the record book, and he saw no goals last year. And
and this is supposed to be your goal scorer.
And Ron Stewart was leading our team and up in the scoring, but I knew that Red would be a player if he could get the opportunity. He just was in the wrong place, got out of college, went to Montreal. They had their cup teams with Backstrom, Beliveau, Richard. He was like a 4th center. In those days, you didn't play much. He got to New York. They were strong at center. But Red became, that trade was, that made our team because Red became the best player in the West Division for the next 3 years.
Now, as you dreamt yourself to sleep in 1967. Did you ever dream that you'd have 9 Stanley Cups?
No, I was just hoping to get by the first year, and especially I was really nervous taking over the team, and in fact, I had Montreal was the first game that we played, and I had the night before I'd met my former boss Sam Pollock, and I was telling him that I had second thoughts about taking this job, and he gave me some pretty good advice. He said, somebody's going to get this job, and you don't want to second guess yourself, and it is about a year earlier than you expected, but you have nowhere to go but up, and that's true. That's what happened.
Well, up has been a long way, and 9 Stanley Cups later, you've decided to again retire, but the last time you retired, there was another 1,000 games and a few more Stanley Cups. Are we going to drag you out again?
No, Joe. I nearly retired.
Not unless Harry Neal's the general manager?
Yeah, but no, I retired in my own mind. I was going to retire in '98, but then we had won 2 cups in a row, and I just thought I wanted another shot at it, and my health wasn't as good at the time. I'd got my knee fixed and had a little procedure done on my heart, so I felt I'd like to try it another year, and then you get back in, and then of course you don't want to leave again. But I felt this year, going into the last couple of months, that I wanted to make it my last year, and it was a lot easier that we won, but I'd made up my mind.
All right, well, we're going to take you back to early on in the illustrious coaching career of Scotty Bowman. The St. Louis Blues have arrived in Toronto for the very first time, I might add, as they will tangle with Punch Imlach Stanley Cup defending champions at Maple Leaf Gardens, because it's back to December 30th, 1967. This is Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV.
All set for the face-off at center ice. And for the St. Louis Blues, that's Red Berenson, number 7 at center ice, 17 Don McKenney, and Jerry Melnick, number 16 on the right wing. Barclay Plager and Jimmy Roberts are on the defense. Keon Armstrong and Mahavlich for the Maple Leafs. Picked off by Berenson. He overskates the puck. Stanley tried to get it ahead to Armstrong, broken up by Barclay Plager. Knocked by Horton to Keon. Keon shot it in. Mahavlich races after it. Right in front with a shot. Another drive in front, and Seth Martin made the save. Armstrong steals the puck to Keon. Keon then tried to relay it to Armstrong, and St. Louis cleared out. Chance for Berenson. Armstrong tipping it right onto Barclay Plager's stick. Went between Horton and Stanley, and Keon feeds Mahavlich. Back to Stanley. Long shot off the boards. The rebound to Barclay Plager, given to Jerry Melnick for McKenney off his skate. Ron Ellis on the ice. Offside, Mike Walton. St. Louis send out Frank St. Marseille at center ice. Terry Crisp is number 19 on the left wing, and Gary Sabrin, number 11 on the right side. Playing on the defense, Noel Picard and Bob Plager. Puck is knocked back to Marcel Pronovo. He cleared it ahead, nowhere near Rupp. Walton missed it. Bob Plager shot the puck into the lead zone. Rupp goes after it. Bauer is there first to Bob Pulford. Picard took a long shot. They golf at it. Here's a chance for a backhand, and Bauer tipped it off to the wing. Rupp is covered by St. Marseille. Ellis comes out now for the Leafs. A long pass to Walton. Walton over the blue line, getting in front, going right in on goal, he scores! Walton.
Toronto goal scored by number 16, Walton. Assist number 8, Ellis, and number 4, Rupp. The time, 1:36.
The puck is cleared by Ron Schock into the Leaf zone from the faceoff. Out there in the forward line with Tim Ecclestone and Billy McCreary. Held against the boards, Walton playing with Pulford and Ellis. Have a penalty here to the St. Louis club. Schock will get the penalty. Here it is.
Number 10, Schock. 2 minutes for hooking. The time, 1:54.
Toronto Maple Leafs have a man advantage, playing 6 men to 5. Melnick is out there along with Billy McCreary to kill off the penalty. Playing on the defense, we have Al Iber and Ray Fortan. The Leafs have Mahavlich, Walton, Keon, Hillman, and Papin. Keon going over the line, standing in front of the defense, getting set, turns, still has it, over to Hillman. Hillman lets his shot go. Walton tipping it to Mahavlich, comes back to Hillman. A backhand in front of the net. Here's Walton, they score! Walton.
Toronto goal scored by number 16, Walton. Assist number 2, Hillman, and number 27, Mahavlich. The time, 2:21.
The puck is at the St. Louis blue line. Stopped by Horton, a long shot. Martin stopped that. Goes out over the blue line, and Stanley shoots it back in again. Stamkowski has the puck along the boards to Stanley. Shot it to the other side. Came out in front of the net. Trying to bring it out is Barclay Plager. He does the center to the Leaf line and over. Horton gets it up for Stamkowski. Brought it into the Leaf zone, and Horton helps him out. Off the boards to Carlton. Carlton cuts around the defense, going right in on goal to Papin. He shoots and scores!
Toronto goal scored by number 18, Papin. Assist number 25, Carlton, and number 7, Horton. The time, 3:07.
Carlton is stopped by number 14, Tim Ecclestone, coming over the line with shot. Tried to center it, Jim Papin. A long pass for Carlton down the left wing, over the blue line. for Stemkowski, and he shot it wide. Jock a pass, cleared up to center ice. Down goes Tim Ecclestone, trying to catch up with him on the left side, and the puck was for Keenan, and he was hit by Stemkowski, and he's into the boards, and he's hurt.
Well, it's 3-0 Maple Leafs very early on in the first period as Mike Walton has scored a pair. Jimmy Pappen has added another. Scotty Bowman, you come into Toronto, and this is, this is the old team. This is Punch Imlach's Greybeards that have won the Stanley Cup in 1967. First off, your thoughts on Punch. What did you think of this guy now that you're coaching against him?
I got to know Punch pretty well because I was coaching in Peterborough in the late 50s, and Toronto trained in Peterborough, and I knew Bert Olmsted, who'd come over from Montreal, and Bert kind of let me hang around with the guys, and I got to know Punch and King Clancy, and spent a lot of time with them. And even though I was working with Montreal, I knew Punch when he was playing in Quebec. I was a youngster. He was coaching the Aces when he had Jean Beliveau, so I always kind of, and then I got into Peterborough, and being in Ontario, many times I was talked about coming to the Marlboros to work with the junior team, and I talked to Punch about it, but I was working for Montreal, so I stuck with them. So I got to know him pretty well. He was a great bench coach, and you know, Punch was a psychologist in the way that he would use the media to his advantage. He was very good at it. He called Rogie Vachon a junior B goalie one year, and he collapsed in the final. He did pretty well, but he was a master at that. And I think also the fact that he really believed in older players, and if you look at the roster, you take players that were seeming on the end of their career, bang, he put together a team that really upset everybody in '67, the last Leaf Cup win. And this team that we played that night, there was 3 or 4 changes. Red Kelly was coaching in LA, he had left. Bobby Bond was drafted by Oakland, and Eddie Shack, I think, was traded to Boston. But it was still a strong team.
Now, any great coach takes from different people and everything else. And I'm sure that as you went through your coaching career and your infancy, you may have seen things. Now, and later on, you pulled the same trick by having Doug Harvey come and join your team. But did you take things from Punch to maybe use in your coaching philosophy? Well,
I think Punch's strongest suit on the bench was you always had to expect the unexpected. I remember one game in Montreal, and he and Toe Blake were great rivals. They were rivals in the minors, and Toe coached Valleyfield, Punch coached Quebec. They went on to the NHL, and that's when Montreal and Toronto were dominating in the NHL in the 50s and early 60s. And you know, he knew that Toe wanted to match lines all the time, and he was the first one I'd ever saw that put 5 defensemen in the starting lineup. He
That's
said,
right.
who are you going to match against that? He also, I remember a couple other games, there'd be 3 or 4 minutes left in the game. The Leafs would be down 2 or 3 goals, take out the goalie. He was the first coach I ever saw do that. And a couple of times he narrowed the gap. I don't know if he ever was able to tie a game, but he was a big innovator, and I think what he did the most, he was never afraid to take a chance. And I think as a coach, you have to be your own guy. And you know, when things aren't working well, and I think what also I learned from him was that you've got to have some explanation to the team. When things aren't going good, you're pretty miserable. If you don't want me to be miserable, you better get going good. and that was how he ran his teams.
And that's how Scotty Bowman ran his teams?
Well, you have to try it.
You have to be miserable sometimes.
You sure do. Yeah.
Sometimes you live in misery. I don't think you've had a great experience at that with your success. When you get to a situation coaching in the National Hockey League, how much different is it from junior?
It's a lot different. The stakes are so much higher. But the biggest change that I've noticed in my return to the coaching since the 90s, the fact that you have so much more help. When the fellas like Blake and Imlach ran their team, they did everything. I mean, if they wanted to figure out stats or they wanted to figure out matching, I mean, it was all them. Now, even to talk to the players, and in those days it was a lot different. Most of them just didn't talk. You know, the players knew how they stood, and the way you had the minor leagues, and you could send players down. In most cases, the rules changed in the late 50s and 60s, but I think the biggest change as a coach has been the expansion of the staff. And now you have people that look after the power play. They look after the conditioning of the players. And when I first started, like the Blues in '67, you didn't have anybody helping you.
You were on your own.
That's right.
Well, you're on your own now. You're down 3-0 to the Maple Leafs early in the first period. Let's go back to the play-by-play.
All set for the face-off in the Maple Leaf zone to the right. The St. Louis Blues have a man advantage playing 6 men to 5. And they have Frank St. Marseille at center ice, Berenson on the left wing, Melnick on the right, McKenny and Picard back at the blue line. Keon and Armstrong with Rupp and Marcel Pronovo as Keon gets it out over the line. Picard gets it over here to Jerry Melnick. Melnick over the line to St. Marseille. There's his shot. It's behind the net. Keon leaves it there. It's out in front to McKenny. Kenny couldn't control it. Chopped it off the glass. Rupp then stepped into his check. They hold it against the boards. No further play. Face-off in the Leaf zone. St. Louis get the draw. They have a man advantage. McKenny back at the blue line over to Picard. Picard takes his shot. Bauer caught it. Flipped it over for Pronovo and Keon. Marcel Pronovo gets it down the ice. McKenny goes back for it along with Berenson, St. Marseille, Melnick, and Picard. St. Louis with Don McKenny. St. Marseille has moved over to the left side. Berenson is ahead of him. He shoots the puck into the Leaf zone. Bauer shot it into the corner. Melnick back for Picard. His shot hit Keon. He's got a breakaway. Going down alone. Over the blue line. Going in with Armstrong. Right in on goal. And Martin made the save on Keon from point-blank range. Back up the ice for St. Marseille. Stopped by Pronovo. St. Marseille waits for Melnick's pass. Over the line comes Berenson. Keon stopped him, and Pronovo shoots the puck down the ice. St. Louis coming up out of their own zone. Don McKenny, a long shot. Bauer stopped it to Pulford. He overskates the puck. St. Marseille of St. Louis covered by Horton. Pulford shot it down the ice. Picard, poke check by Oliver. Now then Picard comes up. A long shot. Bauer juggled it. And Murray Oliver gets a hold of it as Stemkowski is back on the ice. Tried to feed Pulford. Ran into Picard. For Oliver. Up for Pulford. Pulford racing after it into the St. Louis zone. He's covered there by number 20, Ray Fortin. Fortin of St. Louis falls. Walton nearly stole the puck. It comes back to Horton. A shot, and Martin just got a piece of it. Ellis to Pulford. Comes out on the left side to Schock. Schock with Ecclestone. They're over the line. Schock is tripped. There's going to be a penalty here to the Leafs. Stopped in by Fortin. A shot. Ellis gets a hold of it. Play is called.
Toronto penalty to number 7, Horton. 2 minutes for tripping. Time 6:30.
St. Louis with a man advantage, 6 men to 5. Shock at center ice. McCreary on the left wing. Ecclestone on the right. Back is Barclay Plager. Here's a pass in front and a shot knocked down and out over the blue line off Marcel Pronovost. Barclay Plager. A pass. Here's a chance over the line. Closing in a weak shot. And Armstrong shoots it out and between Barclay Plager and Jim Roberts. That's Tim Ecclestone, number 14. Shock is at center. Billy McCreary on the left side. Jim Roberts. Over to Barclay Plager. Back to Roberts. Up here to Ecclestone. Shot it into the lead zone. Armstrong goes after it. Cleared it around on the boards. Ecclestone centered it. Shock can't get a drive. Gets it back to Barclay Plager. His shot is going high into the end Blues. On the face-off. Puck is back at the blue line. Barclay Plager over to Jim Roberts. The shot is wide. The rebound knocked into the corner. Here's the trying to get it out in front, and Barclay Plager is checked, and Rupp goes down the right wing to center. Over the blue line. Stops. Still has it, then lets it go. Red Berenson out there with Melnick and McKinney. Barclay Plager tried to go through the defense, and it was knocked back out to center. St. Louis Blues with a man advantage, 6 men to 5 as Berenson turns. He's stopped by Rupp. Now it's Bob Plager. He's stopped by Rupp and Marcel Pronovost. Jim Roberts. He tries to shoot it in. He does. And it's Bauer to Marcel Pronovost. And his high shot goes down the ice. Picard goes back for it. No Picard. Up to Jerry Melnick. Over for Don McKinney. McKinney, a pass for Picard, right on the Berenson's stick. For McKinney, stopped by Hillman. Keon gives it back to Stanley. Up for Horton, is now on the ice. Armstrong feeds Keon. He shoots it over the line. He's grabbed by Picard. Bob Plager gets it into the corner. Melnick, a pass for Berenson. Berenson back to Melnick. Up at center, shot it over the line. Berenson goes after it. Mahavlich is there first. Around on the boards to Armstrong. To Hellman. Hellman took a hefty check from Bob Plager. A shot is deflected out over the line. Mahavlich feeds Keon. Keon can't get away. Melnick is checked. Hillman. Then to Keon over the line. There's his shot, and Martin stopped that. The rebound all the way out to the blue line. Kept in by Armstrong to Mahavlich. Mahavlich is hit by Picard, who goes down. It's underneath him, and play is called. All set for the face-off in the St. Louis zone to the right. On the draw, Carlton back for Horton. It's tipped out and down the ice by Terry Crisp, number 19. Back over the line for the Leafs. Tapping the shot. Martin deflected into the corner. Arbor gets it up to center. Stopped by Stanley. Stanley shoots it back in again. St. Marseille with Terry Crisp on one wing and Gary Sabrin on the other. The pass to Sabrin. Sabrin goes over the blue line, over to the far side and falls. Back for Stemkowski. Over the line with Carlton. Stemkowski is dumped, but it's offside. And the face-off, Stemkowski back to Stanley. Got it back into the St. Louis zone. Stemkowski ran into his check, tap and centered it. All the way back to Horton. His shot is grabbed by Martin. Holds it for a face-off. Ron Schock is now on the forward line with Billy McCreary and Tim Ecclestone. For St. Louis, Walton, Pulford, and Ellis for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Face off to the left of Seth Martin. All ready to go. Walton for Pulford, picked off by McCreary. Jim Roberts is checked by Pulford. Marcel Pronovo is turned around. Ron Schock of St. Louis. Up to center ice. Took a long shot. Bauer steered into the corner. Mike Walton shot it to the other side. Ellis covered his man. Mike Walton picked it up. Trying to get away. Skated off. Rupp. For Pulford, it was behind him. Jim Roberts covers up for St. Louis, off the glass and out to center. Marcel Pronovo shot it back offside. On the face-off, picked off there by Barclay Plager. Up to center ice, Marcel Pronovo took his man out, number 14, Tim Ecclestone. Rupp then for Ellis. Can't get away. Ron Schock gets it to Barclay Plager. Back to Jim Roberts. Up at center, Marcel Pronovo breaks it up, shot it back to the St. Louis defense. Barclay Plager again with it. Up at center ice for Schock, over the line, the drive is wide. Another shot goes wide of the net. Ellis just shoots it up to center ice. On the right wing now for number 14, Tim Ecclestone. To McCreary on the left wing offside. Red Berenson, Jerry Melnick, and Don McKinney. Bob Plager and Noel Picard for St. Louis. The long shot is wide, and it hopped over into the crowd. On the face-off, Stanley to Horton to Keon, up for Armstrong. Knocked down by Berenson. Keon rolls after it, gets over the line, trying to cut in front. Chased off to the side by Picard. There's going to be a penalty there for holding.
St. Louis penalty, number 4, Picard. 2 minutes for holding. The time 12:11.
Leads for the man advantage, playing 6 men to 5. Keon Mahavlich Armstrong. Tried to get it for Keon. Picked up by Melnick, and Melnick shoots it down the ice. Jim Pappen going back for it. He's back of the Leaf net. For Keon, who pulled away from his check. Up for Armstrong. Tried to relay it to Hillman. Picked off by Berenson to Melnick. Gets it back to Al Arbor. Shoots it to Berenson, over here to Melnick. And they shoot it down the ice into the Leaf zone. Keon again will try his luck. Back to Papin. Over for Hillman. Up to Mahavlich. Mahavlich took his shot, hit the back of the net. Keon moves in, kicks it to Mahavlich. Mahavlich covers his man. Puck is loose. Keon tried to dig it out, and he did, but it was called. Schock and McCreary out there now for St. Louis to kill off this penalty to Noel Picard. Leafs have Walton, Keon, Mahavlich, Papin, and Hillman. From the face-off, it's in the circle. Frank Mahavlich digs it out, but was checked. Jim Papin goes back for the Leafs into his own zone. Waiting for Keon. Papin takes it. A pass for Walton is deflected down the ice. Walton races after it. It's touched first by number 5, Bob Plager. It'll be called for icing. On the face-off, Billy McCreary knocked it back to Jim Roberts. All the way back to Barclay Plager for Billy McCreary. Hillman checked by the St. Louis player, and it's Papin now to Walton. Back to Papin. Straight up the ice for Papin. Over the line, 4 of them closing in. Papin stops for Ron Ellis. Gets it through. It goes to the boards. Knocked ahead to McCreary. Papin gets back to check him. For Pulford too far. Knocked out by Roberts. Hillman going over the line. Checked by Schock. He shot it out on the wing, and as it went out, it went over the boards into the crowd. Canada and hockey fans in the United States, Bill Hewitt and Brian McFarland here at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. The score, Toronto Maple Leafs 3, St. Louis Blues nothing. Toronto Maple Leafs scored 3 goals in less than 3.5 minutes of the first period and have been putting the pressure on the St. Louis Blues. But here they come down the ice. Number 11 is Gary Sabourin. St. Marseille is number 9, and number 19 is Terry Crisp on the left wing. Playing back on the defense are Ray Fortin, number 20, and Al Iber, number 3. The Leafs have Carlton out there with Stamkowski and number 17, who is Mike Byers. There's a long shot by Carlton and hit Al Iber. He gets another try right in front. Mike Byers was standing there. Stamkowski covered his check. The puck goes loose. Picked up and brought out by Gary Sabourin. Puck is into the corner, and they hold it there. Stamkowski and Al Iber shoving.
That's the first time we've seen Mike Byers on the ice. He's replacing Brian Conacher out with the flu, and Mike Walton was the big gun in the first 2.5 minutes, scoring his 18th goal from Ellis and Rupp at 1:36. There's a look at Mike Byers. Then Walton came right back at 2:21 with his 19th of the season from Hillman and Mahovlich, and Pappen got his 11th from Carlton and Horton at 3:07.
On the face-off, the shot goes wide of the St. Louis net. Armstrong faked the pass, shot it in front again. Mahovlich let one go. Keon tries to center it. He does, right to Armstrong, a backhand. Another try. Keon right in front with a shot, and it was blocked neatly by number 5, Bob Plager.
You'll notice on the videotape replay between periods that Sabrin and Picard screened Seth Martin on Walton's first goal, and then Al Arbour was the goat on the second one when he failed to clear it, and Walton was able to score. There's the out-of-town scoreboard. Cournoyer scoring for Montreal 1-0 over Oakland.
On the face-off, back to Armstrong, a shot grabbed by Seth Martin. Thrown to the corner. Noel Picard for Jerry Melnick, stopped by Stanley. Mahovlich shot it to the corner. Stanley gets it right in front of the net. Martin is there. Mahovlich touched it. Picard took a shove at Mahovlich. And Mahovlich has been throwing his weight around all through this first period, Brian.
Well, so is Picard, Bill. He's the villain on that St. Louis Blues roster, and takes great pride in his ability to dump bodies on the ice. But Mahovlich, as you say, once in that period knocked 2 of them down in the corner. First Al Arbour and then Red Berenson. One on top of the other, I might add.
From the face-off, Armstrong after it behind the net. Centered it for Mahovlich. Melnick had him covered. It's cleared out over the blue line to center ice, and Stanley shoots it up for Keon. Keon shot it in. Picard went after Keon. Mahovlich is alone behind the net. Past the stick out in front. Armstrong gets a hold of it. That's a new play. Armstrong for Stanley. Stanley over to Mahovlich. He shoots. And a great save by Martin, who had to come out on Frank Mahovlich.
Oh, we'll take another look at that. As a humorous note there was injected as Mahovlich behind the net shot part of a blade of a stick out. But this happened just prior to this play. There's the pass, a fine pass from Stanley, and the shot with Martin going down, and also Bob Plager of the St. Louis Blues going down to block the shot.
That's deception, shooting the blade of a hockey stick out in front. Number 6 is Jimmy Roberts of St. Louis. He cleared it up on the right side for number 14, Tim Ecclestone, and they hold it against the boards. That's Ron Schock, number 10, and number 15, Bill McCreary on the left wing. Now the Leafs are going to make a change. Jim Roberts and Barclay Plager are the 2 defensemen. The reason we're using the first names because we have a Bob Plager and a Barclay Plager playing for St. Louis. That's Seth Martin in goal. And Toronto is leading St. Louis 3-0. 2 goals by Mike Walton. 1 by Jim Pappen. Ron Schock of St. Louis gives it to Roberts. Roberts now straight up the ice to his own blue line to center. Shot the puck in right at Bauer. Bauer hasn't had too much work in this first period. Gets a drive that's wide. McCreary leaves it. Roberts is shot right on. Bauer catches it and holds on to it. 2:43 remaining in the first period. 3-0 Toronto.
Well, I don't think John Bauer's had more than 3 or 4 shots to handle in this first period of play, but Seth Martin has certainly been kept busy at the other end of the rink.
On the face-off, it's cleared to the blue line and out. Number 8, Barclay Plager, carrying it back. McCreary right on Ellis' stick. He just content to shoot it out. Barclay Plager tries to get over the line. He does. They're closing in right in front to him, and Bauer made the save. Rupp lost it. Here's a pass in front. McCreary took his shot wide. Poked off into the corner. Shot back to the blue line. Roberts lets his shot go. That's high. It's back of the net. McCreary tried to center it. Rupp covered his man. Marcel Pronovo tips into the corner. Rupp for Ellis. Plager, Barclay Plager had him covered. Here's a chance for McCreary, a shot, and that's off the target. McCreary another try, and Walton steers it out for Ellis, only to be checked. In again for Schock. Not a hard shot. Ellis tried to get loose on the left wing. Barclay Plager covered him. Walton went into the whole pile and finally wound up with the puck. With 1:41 remaining in the first period, it's 3-0. for the Toronto Maple Leafs over the St. Louis Blues, who are putting on a determined bid in this latter part of the first period to get on the score sheet. That's St. Marseille. Number 9 at center ice. Number 11 is Gary Sabrin. And number 19, Terry Crisp on the left wing. Al Iber is 3, and Ray Fortin is also on the defense, number 20. Here's Wayne Carlton. Pass up for Stamkowski, over the line. Back to Carlton, he shoots! Oh, and he just missed the corner with that hot drive. Back for St. Marseille at center ice for St. Louis. Over on the right wing to Sabrin. Right on with the shot. Martin picks up the rebound. Stick handling out with Carlton. Carlton takes the puck. Here's the shot at center, and it was deflected over on the wing. Pappen trying to center it.
Last minute of play in this period.
Fortin to St. Marseille as Carlton missed him with a body check. On the right side, it was number 11, Sabrin, skated off, then Horton shoots it out. Terry Crisp to St. Marseille, over the blue line. Stopped by Stanley. There's a shot by Sabrin. Crisp missed the rebound. Into the corner for Horton. Checked by Arbor. Arbor holding it against the boards. It goes loose to Stanley to Dave Keon. Over to Pappen. Pappen's shot was deflected back in the Leaf zone. And it's Horton turning now with 20 seconds left in this first period. A long pass for Carlton. He left it there. Back for Sabrin. A long shot. Bauer caught it and threw it over to Armstrong with 7 seconds remaining in this first period. Kept in by number 20, Ray Fortin. 1 second. There goes the bell. And the first period is over with 2 goals by Mike Walton at 1:36 and 2:21, and Jim Pappen from Carlton and Horton at 3:07. There were 4 penalties, 2 apiece, handed out for referee Wally Harris.
In favor of the Maple Leafs over Scotty Bowman's St. Louis Blues, and the winner of 9 Stanley Cups has joined us as our guest here on Leafs TV. Seth Martin is playing goal tonight. Glenn Hall is not available. And you tell me...
His father had passed away, and as everyone knows, probably Glenn Hall played 502 consecutive games, but Seth Martin, it was, you know, in the first half of the season, we signed Seth from Canada's Olympic and national team, mainly because at the time when they had the draft, once you got your #1 goalie, there wasn't much available unless they were young goalies. So we took Seth Martin. I think he got into 20 games that year, and the team, he worked well with Glenn Hall.
Now, Glenn Hall is one of my favorite people to start with, Scotty, and an amazing talent, and he really was the reason your team was as good as it was in the early going. And then you would add Jacques Plante, and they would be a tremendous tandem.
As a goaltender on a team like ours, he felt so comfortable. I think what Glenn liked about our team, he came from Chicago. They were a great team, but they played sort of fire wagon hockey, wide open. There was no chance for a goalie to get a lot of shutouts, to get a good goals against average. You won some games, but I think he liked the way we played, and he often referred to Al Arbor as the best defenseman who ever played in front of him. Because, well, you know, Al blocked a lot of shots as well. But Glenn fit in well. He was so good, he won I think he might have been the first player to win the Conn Smythe Trophy from a losing team.
Yes, he was.
We lost 4 straight games, and that's how good he was. He was the backbone of our franchise. We didn't know how many years he could play, and I think we got 3 or 4 years out of him. It was amazing.
Now, the next summer you add Jacques Plante, and that's quite a tandem.
Well, Plante was at the draft, and he announced his desire of coming back into the NHL. And of course, Lynn Patrick had admired him as a goalie as well. He hadn't played for 3 years, and I said, what a tandem this could be if we could ever, you know, get it to work. And we were concerned. We had a waiver draft at the time, or intra-league draft they called it. And Plante, Lynn, we talked about taking him in the 2nd round. And I said, you know, Lynn, he really wants to play. He's announced it in a big press conference. And fortunately, on the first pick in the interleague draft, we took him. We found out later, Ren Blair, who was running Minnesota, they were going to take him for the North Stars. So between the 2 of them, the next year, they had 13 shutout games and 35 one-goal games, including the shutouts. 35 games of the 80 or 76 that we played, either a shutout or a one-goal game. And if you look at the goals against, that was the lowest goals against in the NHL since Detroit had 131 goals against in the mid-50s, and we gave up 157 goals as an expansion team in the second year because of the goaltending.
And it was the way to work it.
Yeah.
All right, Scotty Bowman is an encyclopedia. Not only is he the greatest coach in the National Hockey League's history, right now his Blues are trailing the Maple Leafs by a score of 3-0 at the end of the first period back on December the 30th, 1967. You're watching Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV.
This is St. Louis, called the Gateway to the West, home of a magnificent art museum in Forest Park, and home of the city's patron saint, St. Louis himself. It mixes the old with the new. This weird building, for instance, is a planetarium, and also houses a world-famous zoo where the animals are enclosed, but in such a way as to make their surroundings appear natural. Hockey games have been played for years in St. Louis, including a brief excursion into the NHL during the 1930s, and in spite of this rather rude reaction, is considered a good sports town. It's also the home of Stan Musial, one of the greatest names in any sport. This is the old arena, next year to be home to the St. Louis Blues. One of the owners, Sid Salomon, talks about the prospects.
Well, we're very optimistic here in St. Louis. In the past, when St. Louis had a team in the American Hockey League back in the 1950s, they averaged at 1 year over 8,000 people a game. Today in the Central Pro League, while the attendance is less than this, the brand of hockey, of course, being comparable, but to the people in St. Louis, American League was a higher brand of hockey, and of course, because of this, they drew better. With the coming of the National Hockey League, though, we have every indication that we will average at least 10,000 people a game, and we are looking for our season tickets to exceed 5,000 on a season ticket crowd.
St. Louis is a good sports town. Major League Baseball, played last season in this new Busch Stadium, drew over 1 million fans. The football Cardinals had similar success, drawing 50,000 people to every game. But the fans demand Major League action in pleasant surroundings. Frank Lieber, the business manager, explains plans for improving the old arena.
We're going to get into the renovation of the arena proper from front to back. By that I mean the parking area, relight the parking facilities. We're going to paint the building from top to toe, install a new $61,000 square clock. The seats that I'm sitting on here will be theater-type seats that we're going to put into the arena in the parquet section. The entire rink will be enclosed in Herculite glass or its equivalent. We're going to have a stadium club, and generally we intend to facelift this entire building from stem to stern.
When the facelifting is finished, the building will seat 15,000 comfortably, and there'll be convenient parking for 4,000 cars. Now, about tickets, Gus Kyle tells us what the club has been doing to sell hockey in St. Louis.
Well, just about everything, really. We have been showing the fine Stanley Cup film of last year to all the service groups, church organizations, and generally we want everybody in the vicinity in the area of St. Louis to see this very fine film.
And the response to the film has been good?
It sure has. It's a tremendous film, and the response has simply been terrific.
What plans does the St. Louis Club have specifically to try and interest people as season ticket holders?
Well, we've started a campaign on January the 25th, and prior to our opening of this campaign, the interest was simply fabulous. People had taken time out of their daily chores to come up and visit us here at the arena, where we were able to take them out and show them the exact seat location. Many people have phoned in, and the reception generally has simply been tremendous.
So renovations to the arena are underway, tickets are on the move, and the organization is ready. To help sell the game in the St. Louis area, the club hired a familiar hockey figure as its general manager, Lynn Patrick.
You actually broke into the NHL in this very arena, did you not?
That is right, in 1934, when St. Louis had a team in the National Hockey League. The Ottawa franchise moved down here and were known as the St. Louis Eagles. At that time, I might add that hockey was very popular in St. Louis. They played the capacity houses for the early season games, but the team was not successful in the one-loss column, and finally the attendance fell off, and the team disbanded after 1 year. At that time, quite a few of the teams in the National Hockey League were having difficulties drawing. It was right after the Depression, and as a matter of fact, the Montreal Maroons folded for the same reason. They didn't have the attendance in Montreal.
So therefore you are in effect coming home when you're in St. Louis.
Well, not exactly. I played the game. I played one season here, and I wasn't too familiar with St. Louis. I did coach in New Haven when St. Louis were in the American Hockey League. For 2 years, I came in here with the New Haven Ramblers. I've always thought St. Louis is a great hockey town. I'm very happy to be here and very hopeful that we'll have a successful run.
The St. Louis area has a population of some 2.5 million people, and if the club can provide exciting Major League hockey, the St. Louis Blues should have no problems in drawing a fair percentage of those people into the arena to watch the National Hockey League next season.
3-0 in favor of the Leafs. Let's go back and revisit those goals from the first period.
A long pass to Walton. Walton over the blue line, getting in front, going right in on goal, score! Walton. Over to Hillman. Hillman lets his shot go. Walton tipping it to Mahavlich. Comes back to Hillman. A backhand in front of the net. Here's Walton. Right score! Walton. Horton gets it up for Stamkowski. Brought it into the Leaf zone, and Horton helps him out. Off the boards to Carlton. Carlton cuts around the defense, going right in on goal to Papa, and he shoots the score!
You're watching Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV.
And Brian, you and I are quite surprised at the shots on goal in the first period. The Leafs outshot St. Louis 16-11. The puck is back into the St. Louis zone from the faceoff. Stanley took a shot, deflects into the corner. Picked up by number 15, Bill McCreary. Goes back of his own goal there at the south end to the right. Keon goes against the boards, being watched there by Al Iber. The puck goes loose. Al Iber shot it around on the boards, not far enough. Horton gets his shot away right on. Seth Martin covered up with his stick and then went down to hold it. Toronto 3, St. Louis nothing. 19:34 to play in the second period.
Detroit leading Pittsburgh 1-0 on a goal by Ullman from McGregor at 16:10 of the first period. That game being played at Pittsburgh tonight.
Red Berenson at center ice. Jerry Melnick on the right wing. Don McKenney on the left. Barclay Plager and Jim Roberts on the defense. Keon for Armstrong. Stick handles by 1 and 2 to Mahavlich. Mahavlich goes over the blue line. Trying to get around the defense. He does. Goes back of the net. Right in front to Armstrong. Stanley moves up with a shot. Here's Keon right in front of the net. The rebound. Armstrong shoots and scores! George Armstrong.
Well, that was one of those 7-iron shots with Seth Martin helpless after Keon had a good chance. We'll watch it on the playback. Here's Keon's opportunity. Martin comes down to block. The rebound comes out. You can see it going high in the air. And look at that golf shot by Armstrong through past 3 St. Louis Blues players, including Seth Martin, who was sprawled there, number 30.
Number 10, Armstrong. Assist, number 14, Keon, and number 26, Stanley. The time, 49 seconds.
On the face-off, the puck is shot back to Rupp. Rupp to Walton. Walton goes up the ice over the blue line, closing in with Ellis. Ellis took a shot from the right wing. It was stopped. Berenson feeds McKenney to Melnick. Walton stole the puck. Here he's got a chance. Took his shot and he missed the corner. Ellis moved up and shot it back of the net. Jim Roberts off the board, stopped by Marcel Pronovo, a shot right on. Barclay Plager over to Don McKenney. Walton grabs him, but the puck comes out to Berenson. Berenson trying to get over the line. Ellis gets it up to Walton. Walton failed to get loose. Cleared in by Roberts into the Leaf zone, and Bauer stops it there for Marcel Pronovo. Back of Ellis, up to center ice. Bob Plager then to Berenson, stopped by Rupp to Ron Ellis. To Bob Pulford. He was given a bump by Bob Plager. It goes over on the right side to Melnick. He's stopped by Marcel Pronovo to Pulford. Behind Walton. Bob Plager then moves up for St. Louis, up over the line, stopped by Pulford. It hit the gate, it was open, and it deflects to Picard. Noel Picard of St. Louis, a long shot. Bauer stopped it. Peter Stamkowski picks the puck up now for the Leafs. Up with Pulford, a long pass for Ellis. Over the line, he overskates it. Puck is shot back into the Leaf zone. That's Wayne Carlton after it, number 25, being watched by St. Marseille, number 9, for Stamkowski, number 12, for Papin at center ice. Picard bumped into him. St. Marseille shot deflects over here to number 19, Terry Crisp, checked by Rupp. For Papin, off his stick into the St. Louis zone. Plager stopped by Papin. Carlton shot it wide. Papin is shot again. Stanley moves up, and Carlton was chased, but he gets it to Papin for Stamkowski, and it's Crisp out of St. Louis, getting it up to St. Marseille at center. Offside from inside the blue line over the checkered line at center. Toronto 4, St. Louis nothing. 16:58 remaining in the second period. Brian?
Montreal has gone in front of Oakland 2-0, Bill. Beliveau, that line's really been on a tear, scoring from Jules Tremblay at 1:35 of the second period. And this afternoon, a final score, Minnesota edging Boston 5-4. Parker McDonald scoring the winner. Johnny Busick getting goal number 20 for the Boston Bruins.
That's certainly a surprise after Boston thrashed the Blackhawks. On the face-off, here's Papin going in over the St. Louis line to Stamkowski for Papin, and it was stopped by Al Iber, who feeds it ahead to number 14, Tim Ecclestone, to Ron Schock. Up it comes to number 15, Billy McCreary. He's over the line, trying to center it. It hits Stanley. Stanley brings it out, tips it to Carlton. Carlton over the blue line. Shot it near the front of the net. He's knocked down by Iber. Ecclestone is checked. Papin tried to get it in front. Iber covers up for St. Louis. Stamkowski takes him to the boards. Iber gets it loose to Schock. Schock comes in front of his own net, and then he put it in it. Armstrong is now on the ice. Gets a pass, takes his shot, and that hit Fortin. He's trying to get it into the clear. Horton has him covered. He gets it back in front for McCreary to Schock, and Armstrong got his stick in the way. Armstrong to Carlton. Going down the left wing. There's his long shot. Martin made the save. Key on the rebound. Tried to center it. Tipped it. Back of the net. Armstrong races in after it. Trying to center it. Does to Mahavlich. Mahavlich goes after it again. Sending it across the goal mouth. Here's Rupp getting set for a shot. Right in front of the net. And Iber gets it out on the right side. A pass intended for Schock. Stopped by Rupp. To Keon. Keon with Mahavlich. They're going in together. Keon tried to make the play to Mahavlich. It just failed. Mahavlich to Keon. Keon is knocked down by Al Iber, and we'll have a face-off. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
There's Al Iber, number 3, the veteran defenseman with St. Louis, going to the bench.
Toronto 4, St. Louis nothing. Puck is knocked down the ice between Pronovo and Rupp. Pronovo goes back for it. He's being watched there by Berenson, number 7 of St. Louis. Pass up to Armstrong. Back for Pronovo at center to Keon over the line. Left the drop pass. McKenney was there to pick it up for St. Louis. Gives it to Barclay Plager. Right onto Rupp's stick. Rupp waits, pass to the Keon. Keon is checked by Jim Roberts. Roberts coming out now for St. Louis. A pass on the right wing to Melnick. He's checked by Marcel Pronovo. Keon. A long pass to Mahavlich over the line. Getting in front with a shot, and Martin stopped that. They scored! Mahavlich from back of the net scores.
Well, a good example of second effort on that one, as Mahavlich missed on the initial drive, even though he made a good play to cut in on the Blues defense. Watch the first shot here. Warding one man off, Martin makes the save. Now he leaves a little chink in his armor here, as we'll watch. It dribbles through off the right pad of Seth Martin and into the goal. 5-0.
I think, Brian, on that play, as you mentioned, he left a little chink off to the side of the net.
Number 14, Keon, and number 3, Pronovo. The time, 5:28.
5:28, but he was trying to act as a defenseman as well and came out of the net. The puck is against the boards. Horton picking it up. Pass for Ellis. He's bowled over by Bob Plager. Walton races down the right wing, trying to get it in front to Pulford. He does. Waiting on goal. And Martin made the save on Pulford. Play is called and a penalty here to Bob Plager. Plager of St. Louis will get a penalty.
We've learned that Larry Keenan, who was rammed into the boards in the first period by Peter Stemkowski, has been taken to hospital for observation. He will not be back tonight. Boy, he's been injury prone throughout his hockey career, and a fine hockey player he is, too, this Larry Keenan of St. Louis.
Just looking at Armstrong.
St. Louis penalty to number 5, Bob Plager. 2 minutes for charging. The time, 5:58.
That's quite a record for a fellow who is retiring.
That's right. He only got 9 last year, Bill. And we're talking about Armstrong, of course. He has 11 so far this year, so that old gentleman has found new life in the legs.
Yes. 14:02 remaining in this second period. Toronto 5, St. Louis nothing.
Out of town this afternoon, Philadelphia blanking Los Angeles 2-0.
Here's Pappen with a shot, and that's just off the target. Mike Walton behind the net. Left it there. Ivor flipped it. Walton fell. Melnick can't get it out. Hillman took a shot. Pulford centering it for Walton, and it was just behind him. Here's Jim Pappen getting set into Mike Walton. Right to Ellis. Ellis let his shot go, and he missed the target. Walton scooped it into the corner, and it's whacked by Melnick down the ice for St. Louis. Jim Pappen. Up to Ron Ellis. Ellis racing down the right wing over the blue line. Passed it right in front. Pulford gets the loose puck to Walton, the shot. Pulford flips it out in front to Pappen. Over to Hillman. Hillman into Walton. Right in front. Here's Ellis. Off the boards to Jim Pappen. Back to Ellis. He fakes a shot. Flips it over to Hillman. Hillman lets go with a drive, and that goes wide in the corner. It's flipped high and down the ice by Melnick, and I believe Seth Martin may be hurt. Hillman. Pappen to Walton. Over the line to Pappen. There's his hot drive, and that was just off the target. Hillman into Ellis. Back to Walton. Right in front of the net, and Seth Martin again trying to act as a defenseman to cover up for himself. Nearly put that one in too, Brian.
Well, there's number 30, and boy, he's been under the gun tonight as the Leafs have been shooting from all directions. Chicago and New York fought to a 3-3 tie this afternoon. Bobby Hull getting his 28th goal of the year, and he needs 2 more now to hit the 400-goal circle. He got 2 assists to take over first place in the scoring race ahead of teammate Stan Mikita, 43 points to 40. Hull ahead of Mikita.
12:27 remaining in the second period. Toronto 5, St. Louis nothing. Stemkowski back to Pappen. There's his shot right in front. Brought back in by St. Louis into the Leaf zone. Back for it is Byers, number 17, out for the second time in the game for the Leafs. It's hooked loose. Hillman goes up with Carlton and Stemkowski. Over to Carlton, over the line. There's his shot way wide. Stemkowski is dumped. Cleared up the center ice. Plager is on the ice. Over the line for St. Louis. Right in front, and Horton tipped it wide of the net. It's cleared out. Carlton races down the left wing. He gets over the line. There's the shot right on. The rebound's in front. Jim Roberts gets it, but it's picked off by Stemkowski. Keeps it in. Roberts picks it off for St. Louis. Turning it around on the board. Stanley gets his shot. And it's picked off then by number 11, Gary Sabrin, the center right for St. Louis. Over with Plager over the line. It's offside. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
Mahovlich adds his 8th of the season along with George Armstrong, and the Maple Leafs have a 5-0 lead in the second period over the St. Louis Blues. Let's get away from this game, Froley. You know how long and hard we had to search for a game that you fell behind 5-0 in this early?
Well, we had a lot more than that to come.
Now, later this season, you go after, a Hall of Famer and one of the greats of all time, and Doug Harvey, to come up and aid in your defense. Tell us a little bit about
Well,
this.
what happened is as everybody maybe didn't know, Philadelphia finished first in this first season, and there was 6 points separating first and fifth, so it was a real tight race. I'm not sure. Oakland and Pittsburgh just missed. We just made the playoffs on the last weekend. We won 2 games, and we got into 2 7-game series. And then when we played Philadelphia, in those days, 1 played 3. We finished third. By finishing up well, winning the last 2 games of the regular season, we drew Philadelphia in the first round. And we got into the 6th game at home. We had a 1-0 lead. We blew the game in overtime. And then our farm team was playing in Kansas City, and Doug was the playing coach. And we lost the 6th game at home. The series was tied 3-3. We had to go back into Philadelphia for Game 7. And I remember I talked to Doug before the game and said, stay right where you are in the dressing room to get the result. And we called down. Never did I hope that one of our farm teams would lose, but they lost and got knocked out. And I said, Doug, we need some help for tomorrow night. And he said, well, there's 3 guys here that are ready. And I said, who are they? And he mentioned Gary Veneruzzo, Craig Cameron. We need to make a change in our lineup. And he said, and I'm ready. And he came into Philadelphia. We won the Game 7, 3-1. And he played, I think, nearly 50 minutes. It was amazing. It was one of the highlights of my career to watch. Well, Al Arbor was right behind him. I mean, the 2 veteran defensemen, I think they got picked in the first 3 stars.
One of my favorite stories and one of my favorite people is Bob Plager. And Bobby tells the story about when Doug came up, and it may have been for that game. And Bob said that he went over to introduce himself to Doug Harvey, and Harvey said to him very quietly, Mr. Plager, there's one rule I have when you play with me. If I pass the puck to you, under no circumstances are you ever to pass it back to me. Get it up to one of those idiots up in the front, let them screw it up, but don't get it back here. Pretty simple strategy.
Well, they played together in Baltimore as minor leaguers, maybe 3 or 4 years, and Harvey had, you know, when they say a player has ice in his veins, I mean, we had Game 7, the next series against Minnesota, and Glenn Hall had lost Game 6, 5-1, and he was always after me, you know, are you sure that you want me for Game 7? I mean, we're not going to put another goalie in. And about 5 minutes to 8 when the game started, he came to me and said, you know, make sure that, you know, you don't leave me in if I'm not having a good night. Keep your eye on me. So I was looking around for Doug Harvey. By that time, he's in his 2nd series, and I said, Doug, you better talk to the goalie. Oh, he said, don't worry about him. He said, I'll keep both my eyes on him. And that night, that was the 7th game of the West Final. We went into the 2nd overtime. Ron Schock scored the winning goal, and Hall had 55 shots, let 1 in, and Maniego had 54 shots and let 2 in.
Wow.
So it was a goaltender's
Quite a night. And
yeah.
Doug Harvey, a very special person.
Oh, yeah.
Tremendous talent. So they got the Maple Leafs out in front by a score of 5-0. Doug Harvey hasn't made it up to the St. Louis lineup, although maybe about this time you're thinking about it, Scotty. As let's go back upstairs now for more of the 2nd period.
Scotty Bowman, back of that St. Louis bench.
He's a lot younger than the fellas he's talking to. 32-year-old Scotty Bowman, the coach of the Blues.
Toronto 5, St. Louis nothing. 11:23 left in this 2nd period. Rupp fails to get the puck out. A chance for Bill McCreary of St. Louis. Centered it in front. There's Shaka drive. Another shot. Bauer has it underneath him and holds it out.
Well, that's the closest the Blues have come tonight to scoring a goal. Leafs having a little trouble clearing here. Number 10 moves in. That's Ron Schock, and Bauer's able to sprawl on his back, and he looked behind him for an instant to see if the puck may have slipped through.
That's Ron Schock, number 10 at center ice. Tim Ecclestone on the right wing, number 14, and 15 is Bill McCreary. The shot goes wide of the Leaf net. Stanley falls. Horton for Armstrong, back to Horton. Horton then checks his man, and Armstrong just gets rid of it to center ice, where Picard picks it up for St. Louis. Back to McCreary, stopped by Armstrong, and he shot it by Mahavlich. Picard then gives it to Bob Plager. Goes back into the Leaf zone, and Horton up to Armstrong for Keon. Too far. Picard to Bob Plager. Bob Plager to the Leaf line and over with Ecclestone. The shot is wide, and Armstrong gets it. Armstrong covered by McCreary to Schock. Schock centered it. It hit Keon, and here comes Mahavlich with a pass for Keon. Too far. It went by Picard. Picard will get there first, though, and he touches it, and that is icing called against the Toronto Maple Leafs. 10:20 remaining in the second period. Toronto 5, St. Louis nothing.
Number 14 for St. Louis is young Tim Eccleston, only 20 years old and a great deal of potential. He was a star with that Kitchener Junior Club of last year, second high point man on that club. Comes from a sports-minded family, and the Blues are certainly happy to have him in the lineup. Seth Martin is coming to the St. Louis bench now. Bill, you mentioned a moment or two ago that you suspected he may have been injured slightly. We'll wait and see what happens here. Wally Harris is the referee tonight. Bobby Frampton and Neil Armstrong the linesman. And
I
Seth
thought he
Martin.
was, excuse me, Brian, I thought they banged into him in that one pileup in front of the St. Louis net, and he was very slow getting up. And of course, he's been peppered all night.
Notice he wears a golf glove on that hand underneath his catching mitt, not unlike Orland Kurtenbach of the New York Rangers, who wears golf gloves. Now, with Glenn Hall absent because of the death of his father, Don Cayley, wearing number 1, will take over in goal for Seth Martin, who has retired behind the St. Louis bench.
Now in goal for St. Louis and wearing number 1, Don Cayley.
Well, there'll be a warm-up for him at the south end to our right. Don Cayley playing in goal for Seth Martin, who has retired now to the St. Louis dressing room. And it appeared when he left the ice, Brian, that he was complaining about pain on his right leg. So he may have been caught with a shot as well in the thigh.
Well, this young Don Cayley felt they really made a steal when they drafted him from Pittsburgh and Detroit at the June draft meeting in Montreal. He played in 20 games with Pittsburgh in his first year as a pro, and he was the most valuable player on his Weyburn Red Wings of the Saskatchewan Junior League, also voted the league's all-star club out there. Don Cayley now playing goal for the St. Louis Blues, and his idol as a goaltender was Terry Sawchuk. Cayley uses a similar type catching mitt, and he has a special stick patented by Sawchuk. Thinks of himself as a stand-up goaltender. And they say he attaches a thick wad of tape to his hockey stick, Bill, to serve as a warning device so that he won't crouch too low. See if we can catch that there. I'm not sure that he has that attached tonight. He's 21 years old. Makes his home now in Dauphin, Manitoba.
I was just going to mention to you that he had all the mannerisms of Terry Sawchuk. Before you mentioned that was his idol. You notice the way he crouches, it's almost the same. Never leaves his feet.
I hope that doesn't mean he has a bad back, like Sawchuk.
He has that crouch. They're talking to him down at the net now.
Well, if he plays half as well, Bill, he should be able to find a regular spot in this league before long.
Right, and this is not an envious position to be in, coming in cold when the Leafs have been really putting on the pressure. 10:20 remaining in the second period. Toronto 5, St. Louis nothing. We're all set to go in the Leaf zone to the left. On the face-off, it's Marcel Pronovo for Ron Ellis, getting it up the center ice. Tipped back by Tim Ecclestone. Puck picked off by Rupp for Ellis. Over the line, Ellis takes his shot, and a nice save by Cayley on that drive. Back up for Al Arbour. Arbour over the line, pulls away from Pronovo, centered it for shot, he hit the goal post. He hit the goal post. It's shot down the ice. Walton racing after it. Gets a hold of the puck, lets the shot go, and he missed the corner. Pulford shooting the puck into the corner. Back of the net, Cayley leaves it there for Fortin to Schock. Schock back to Arbour. Up at center ice, stopped by Pronovo. Arber gets it again, up to McCreary, over the line for McCreary. Shot it back of the net, cleared out in front. Walton deflects it out over the blue line. Arber over here to Fortin. Up for McCreary, deflected by Rupp into the penalty box.
Well, here's that play again with Al Arber making a nice move at the Leaf blue line. Ron Schock is the player to watch as Arber gets a nice pass over. This is right off the goal post in behind Bauer, but the puck stays out. We've learned that Seth Martin has pulled a groin muscle and had difficulty in moving, though.
Okay, Brian, and from the face-off, it's a backhand by Berenson. Picked off by Carlton. He just shoots it out to center ice. Stopped there by number 8, Barclay Plager. Right on to Horton's stick for Stemkowski. For Pappen. Up to Melnick of St. Louis to Berenson. Carlton sticks with him. Stanley then a long pass. Barclay Plager over on the right side to Melnick for Berenson. Back to Melnick. Berenson gets onside as Melnick gets his shot away. McKinney getting it in front to Melnick. Back to the blue line to Roberts. His shot is wide. Bauer scooped it behind the goal. They're trying to center it, and Stemkowski comes back. Stemkowski with Carlton. Over the line for Carlton. Roberts covered him, and it was knocked out over the blue line. Stemkowski to Pappen for Carlton. Checked by the Blues. They get it over the line. Melnick with Berenson and Don McKinney, but it's offside. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
Oh, there's that new hat that Imlach got from his wife for Christmas.
Toronto 5, St. Louis nothing. 7:52 remaining in the second period. Marcel Pronovo around on the board. Stopped by Picard. There's his shot. Marcel Pronovo knocked it down. Can't get it out. Terry Chris covers him. Picard moves up, giving a shove. Centered it. It deflects into the corner. Puck goes loose. Rupp for Mahavlich and Keon. Picard is there. Mahavlich tried to get loose. St. Marseille shoots it in for St. Louis into the Leaf zone, and it's Dwayne Rupp. Out he goes with a long pass to Keon, and he and Mahavlich overskated. Marseille covered by Armstrong, who steals the puck. Couldn't make a play of it to Keon. It goes back at center. Marcel Pronovo then for Rupp. Over the line. Stopped by Bob Plager. Here he comes up with a pass on the right side. Over the line for Sabrin, a shot. That ends up back of the net. Up to Armstrong. Armstrong going after it with Picard. A long pass to Mahavlich, and he couldn't control it. Puck is loose. Mahavlich for Keon. Picard shoots it down the ice. It's right on the net. Rupp for Ellis. He couldn't control it. Here's Bob Plager over the line on the swing to Chris, but it was behind it. Picked off by Schock, and then a shot goes wide. From the right side, number 14, Tim Ecclestone, couldn't get a drive, and it goes back to center ice. 4-10 for Schock, number 10. 6:06 remaining in the second period. Here's Bob Plager with a long pass on the right wing for Ecclestone. Stopped by Fulford, Stanley, Mike Walton. Walton turning. Up for Pulford. Fortin gets it out. Horton gets on the ice. Ecclestone gets it back to the blue line. Fortin moving up again. Gets away from Walton. Takes a long shot. Bauer knocking into the corner. Pulford then to Walton. Back for Pulford. Pulford over the line. There's his shot. Stopped by Arber. Pulford's got it again. Rolled it in front. Ellis couldn't get a shot. Goes to the boards, and play is called. 5:16 as we have a little bit of an explosion, right?
Somebody started their New Year's celebrating a little early, I think, Bill. There's that chapeau we were talking about. Mrs. Imlach gave her husband for Christmas. He heard it, too. And I saw Mrs. Imlag after the game Wednesday, after the Canadians tied it up in the dying minutes, and she said, I was so afraid he was going to throw that hat away. But just tell him it was a tie, and of course, if they'd lost, he probably wouldn't be wearing it tonight. He'll wear it until they do lose, at least.
I think it fell off the chair. Toronto 5, St. Louis nothing. 5:16 remaining in the second period. Here's a chance for Pappen, a shot. Nice catch by Don Cayley. Berenson with Don McKenney. Jerry Melnick. Dankowski back to Pappen, intercepted by Berenson. Berenson going over the line with Melnick. Melnick gets set for the shot, and it's deflected by Stanley up into the end blues and knocked back down into the red seats.
Detroit leading Pittsburgh 2-0. Smith has scored the second Red Wing goal, Ullman the first. Hampson from Crashley assisting on Smith's goal at 8:32 of the second period.
Berenson, Don McKenney, Jerry Melnick, Ray Fortin, and Al Ibert for St. Louis. Here's a shot. Horton knocked it down. Here's the rebound. A drive by Fortin and a shot by Bauer.
St. Louis edged Pittsburgh 2-1 last night in St. Louis, so they could be a little tired here today. In fact, Scotty Bowman almost didn't get to the game because of a missed plane connection. Barclay Plager scored the winning goal last night, and Seth Martin, believe it or not, got an assist on the goal. His first for Barclay Plager in the NHL. Jerry Melnick got the winner.
From the face-off, Armstrong to Mahavlich. Mahavlich down at center ice. Keon trailing. He's over the line. Mahavlich stops. Back to Marcel Pronovo. Right in front to Armstrong. A shot. Mahavlich can score!
Well, if Mahavlich had missed that one, he would have had to hide his head. Here he is starting to play. You'll see him stop here, deep in the corner, make a very sharp stop, and feed the puck back. Armstrong will set up in front of the St. Louis goal, and Mahavlich will come in the event of a rebound or a play. And luckily he does, because there it is, right on his stick in the empty net in front of him.
Assist number 10, Armstrong, and number 3, Pronovo. The time, 15:19.
15-19, Mahavlich from Armstrong and Pronovo. Bauer for Mahavlich. To Keon. Here's a shot by Roberts. And that's high. Over the glass. 4:22 remaining in the second period. Toronto 6, St. Louis nothing.
Well, Mahavlich has certainly made a stirring comeback from an early season illness that put him in hospital. His 8th and 9th goals coming consecutively here in the second period.
Clearing pass to center ice. Goes back to the defense. Barclay Plager to Jim Roberts. Stopped by Keon to Mahavlich. To Rupp. For Keon off his skate. Barclay Plager past Armstrong to Don McKenney to Red Berenson. Over the line. Takes his shot. Bauer juggled it and holds it for a faceoff. The referee tonight is Wally Harris, number 11. The linesman Neil Armstrong, number 8. Bob Frampton, number 17. 4 minutes exactly remaining to play in the second period. Toronto leading St. Louis 6-0. The puck is cleared out over the blue line. Roberts waits for his teammates to get onside, and the Blues shoot the puck back into the Leaf zone. Armstrong for Keon to Marcel Pronovo. A long pass for Frank Mahavlich. Jim Roberts shoots it out. Marcel Pronovo is there. Off the boards. He has it again. Shoots it into the St. Louis zone. Back of the net. Cleared around on the wing. Kept in by Stanley. Deflected by Keon. It's bouncing. Armstrong gets his shot. Cayley catches it and holds on to it. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. 3:22 left in the second period. Toronto 6, St. Louis nothing. Walton, Pulford, and Ellis. St. Marseille, Sabrin, and Crisp. Here's back to Horton. Fakes the shot. There it goes. And Cayley has it underneath him.
Here it is again. Tim Horton with the puck. Evading one check. There's that slap shot.
On the face-off, Ellis moved up. He was checked. Down the ice comes Sabrin. Over to Crisp, over the blue line, back to Sabrin. Sabrin waits too long, goes to the boards. Pulford with him. Terry Crisp was trying to center the old jam there, and there's no further play. St. Marseille at center ice. Terry Crisp on the left wing. Gary Sabrin on the right. Picard is playing on the defense with Bob Plager. Puck along the boards. Shot behind the net. Terry Crisp trying to center it for St. Louis. Jammed by Horton. Mike Walton shot it around on the boards for Pulford. Picard goes back. Turns at his own blue line. Deflected by Ellis by Horton in his own territory. Stanley back for it. Stanley up for Mike Walton. They just feel the clash. Here's a chance for Ellis, and it's offside. Ellis came down this right wing, but he had crossed the checkered line ahead of the puck, and therefore he put himself offside.
Well, St. Louis was in the National Hockey League for one season in 1934-35. The Ottawa franchise was transferred there, and most of the Ottawa players went along, including Bill Cowley and Sid Howe and Carl Voss and several others. The team nickname was the St. Louis Eagles.
On the face-off, shot. Bauer stopped it. Crisp couldn't get the rebound. It was too high. Ellis for Walton. Picard then gives it to St. Marseille. Over the line. Stanley got a piece of him. St. Marseille shot it way wide of the Leaf net. Horton trying to get it up to Walton. Here's a chance for Bob Plager. Shot by Adelin. And Bauer missed it. Then St. Marseille couldn't get a shot as Walton takes the puck away. Long pass for Pulford, going in with Ellis. He's in the clear, right in on goal. He shoots, and a great save by Cayley on Ellis, who was right in alone. Picard shoots the puck down into the Leaf zone. Ellis back for it. To Horton. Up for Ellis. Ahead for Walton. Walton over the line. Right for Pulford, he just failed to reach it. Walton deflects the puck. St. Marseille tried to get away. Gets two tries at it. Pulford had him covered, but he shoots the puck into the Leaf zone. 1:25 remaining in the second period. 6-0 Toronto. A pass for Tappan, stopped by Shark. Here's McCreary, checked. Tappan comes down the right wing at center. Over the blue line. A pass right in front for Stemkowski, and it's Billy McCreary. Partially stopped. They get out on the right side. Coming up over the line. Ecclestone knocked down. There's going to be a penalty there for tripping. Tim Horton, number 7, gets the gate.
Well, Horton sideswiped young Ecclestone and right at the Leaf blue line, so he'll be out for the next 2 minutes.
That's the 6th penalty of the game, Brian. That makes them 3 apiece.
2 minutes for tripping. Time 18:58.
18:58, the time of the penalty. And talking about that old St. Louis team in 34-35, Bill, they wanted to buy Busher Jackson from Connie Smythe at the time. There's the out-of-town scoreboard. Detroit 3, Pittsburgh 0. Mr. Smythe said, sure, I'll sell him. How much is the price, they said? $100,000. They said, we'll call you back, but they never did.
1:02 remaining in this second period. Armstrong shoots the puck down the ice. Jerry Melnick's going back for it. Tim Ecclestone is out there with Don McKinney, Ray Fortin, Red Berenson. So they're using 4 forwards and 1 defenseman. Tim Ecclestone coming to center ice, flipped it, stopped by Rupp. Ecclestone broke his stick. It goes over out to Melnick, back to Fortin, back to Melnick at center ice. Flipped it over the line. Keon intercepts and gets it out. Ecclestone brings in offside. Don McKenney was inside the blue line, and so was Melnick. 30 seconds left in this second period. Toronto 6, St. Louis nothing. Walton scored twice in the first period, and Pappen got the other. Leafs led 3-0 at the end of the first period. And then Armstrong scored at just 49 seconds of the second period, and Mahavlich has added 2 more. And Toronto are leading 6-0 over St. Louis. 30 seconds remaining in this second period. Melnick gets it over to Fortin. Fortin comes up to the Leaf line. A long shot. The rebound to Bauer. Bauer to Murray Oliver. Oliver falls. Marcel Pronovo for Pulford. It goes down into the St. Louis zone. Fortin back for it. Fortin back of the Leaf net. Waits for his teammates to get back. Red Berenson with them. There's the pass for Melnick. Melnick with Berenson, and hit Berenson on the skate. Goes into the corner. Pulford is there. There goes the bell. And the second period is over. And Horton has 58 seconds to serve in his penalty to start the final period. From Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, Hockey Night in Canada.
6-0 in favor of the Maple Leafs after 2 periods of play. Frank Mahavlich has scored a pair of goals, and here's an individual, Scotty, that you would end up coaching in Montreal in the not too distant future after 1967. An interesting individual, a tremendous talent.
Well, especially in the way hockey was played, the way that Frank could carry the puck. In this game, he carried the puck end to end. He ended up, having a big night. But it was a tough combination, he and Dave Keon together. They had the veteran George Armstrong on the right wing who was able to know how to play defense, and Keon was very good defensively, and Frank was really a solid player who developed into a real good two-way player later on in his career, but offensively he was tough to stop. He made it real tough at our defense that night.
What was he like to coach? Now you're coaching against him tonight, but what was he like in Montreal?
In Montreal, Frank was very happy and satisfied. He had a very good relationship with the general manager who'd made the trade for him, and I think he felt the attention of the fans. The team was strong. He made it a lot stronger. They had the big series in '71 when he was a big factor, when Dryden came in and beat the Bruins, who were the best team in the league. And Frank, his brother was there, Peter, and it was a great combination. He just fit in perfectly with the style that Montreal was playing, and was a very strong player. I was still coaching when he left to come to the Toronto Toros, and I was disappointed that we couldn't keep him, but at that time, players had to think about their future as well.
Dave Keon, maybe one of the best two-way players in the history of the game. Would you give him that assessment to him?
He is a great player. When I saw the battles he and Henri Richard would have, yes, he was so good because he could do everything. And, he had the scoring touch, he had the playmaking ability. His strong suit, of course, was his excessive skating. He was such a great skater. I saw him play junior with St. Mike's. I never knew that he was going to be as great a player as he was in the NHL, but he just was a stalwart Leaf that carried them to many of their cup wins, and against, you'd have to have a pretty special player to play against him because of his ability to play offense and defense.
So the Maple Leafs and Dave Keon, along with Frank Mahavlich's pair of goals, have a 6-0 lead on the St. Louis Blues after 2 periods of play. And you're watching Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV. In favor of the Maple Leafs, Scotty Bowman is our special guest. We're taking him back to a rather painful first 2 periods here, at any rate. Scotty, I don't know of anybody that watches more games than maybe you have. I know that Harry Neal and I chuckle a lot. Well, he'll phone and you'll have stayed up till 3 in the morning to finish watching the game. It was out in Vancouver and whatnot. And he recalls when he was coaching, you would phone him and ask him how he got such and such a line matchup going and stuff of that nature. As you watch this, 1967, it is different, isn't it? The goalies are smaller, the nets look bigger, the rinks look different.
I was surprised when I got the tape and I was reviewing it. Nothing on the boards, no music. As soon as the play stopped, it was very, very quiet, and you could really make yourself think a little bit. The Leaf defensemen in the first half of the game took the face-offs. It was strange to see guys like Alan Stanley and Tim Horton, these guys taking face-off, and the centerman would go on the boards. And there was only probably 2 or 3 cameras because they only focused on the bench once or twice in the entire game. and thank goodness in that game. That's right, and that was probably the biggest difference. And I noticed with the Leafs, when of course they were up by so many goals early, but they clogged up their own blue line. And talk about the trap today, which is usually up around your blue line, between blue line and center. But we seem to have room in the neutral zone to make passes. As soon as we'd make the pass to the wing, there'd be a guy right there. He'd jump him, or they'd force a poor shoot in. The Leafs, they dominated the game, but we had a tough time penetrating. They had the experience of winning the Cup in the spring, 3 or 4 changes, a couple of young players, and of course a big night with Keon and Mahovlich.
Now, Scotty, when you take over the St. Louis Blues, in order to win, what kind of a system did you employ? I mean, we've heard about the Red Wings left wing lock and all of this. Was that something that was employed? Was there the game obviously had to change because as it was being watered down, and then that was the term that was being used, from going from the original 6 to 12 teams.
Most of the teams in the West Division were able to get minor league players who, for the most part, were pretty responsible defensively. They didn't have the scoring touch, and that's why they were in the minors. And I think if you look at the way we played, we played a real tight defensive game. We were fortunate. We drafted Al Arbor, who was that kind of a player, defensive defenseman. We had the goaltending. We had some other players like Bill McCreary and Jerry Melnick, they were fringe NHL players. And when they were brought up to their teams in Detroit and in Montreal, it was for checking purposes. So we had really a defensive type of player, and that's the way we played. We played as tight as you could play, and just figuring that the other team's going to make a mistake and we'd only need a goal or two and we could win the game. And as the season wore on, we got better, and that's why we had a good playoff, because we could get in. I think in the playoffs we had something like 8 overtime games, or 5 or 8. It was amazing how many overtime games, and we played that style.
St. Louis was a buzz. It became a great place to go to and to watch games. The atmosphere in that old barn became electric very quickly into this season, didn't it?
Well, the organ player that the owner hired, Norm Kramer, he was terrific. I mean, he was the first one that put music, and he was so terrific that when he went in to sign the next year, he wanted a lot more money, and the owner said to him, well, we can't pay that. He said, well, you know, he brought out a clipping. He said, they say I'm worth 1.5 goals per game. You got guys that don't score a half a goal a game. It was really humorous. But he was a holdout for a couple of months.
The organist was the holdout.
Yeah, we got him back, and he created the atmosphere in the building. But, you know, we didn't draw. This game was in December, and we had a game in early January, about the first week of January. The Rangers came in, and being New York and also being a strong team, we were down 3-0 at the end of the second. We came back and scored 4 goals in the third period, and from that moment on, it just spread all through the city, and then we started drawing big crowds. And then by the end of the year, we were selling out, but it wasn't like that the first half. We were drawing 4,000 or 5,000.
And the atmosphere was tremendous as you got to the playoffs.
And then of course 2 7-game series, and in the final rather against Minnesota, we got pretty lucky because they didn't have their ice their building one night, and we had a 7-game series, but we had 5 games in St. Louis, so we got pretty lucky.
You pull every string you can, come on, I can't believe the league would let you get away with that. Well, right now, Scotty's looking for some answers in the dressing room because his team is down 6-0 to the Maple Leafs, and you're watching Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV.
Leafs are coming on the ice now for the final period. Toronto Maple Leafs are leading St. Louis 6-0. And Brian, we've had a couple of injuries tonight in this hockey game, one back in the first period, right?
Well, that was an unfortunate one to Larry Keenan, who is another injury-prone hockey player. All through his career, he's been riddled with injuries. Montreal leading Oakland 2-0 after 2 periods of play. And in the other action underway tonight, at the end of the second period, it's Detroit 3, Pittsburgh 1, and other scores from that game: Roberts from Young and Bergman for Detroit at 10:28 of the second, and Price from Bathgate and McDonald at 18:08 of the second period. But we were talking about that old St. Louis franchise in 34-35, and how Busher Jackson was one of the players they coveted in St. Louis, but Mr. Smythe wouldn't sell him. St. Louis lost 11 of 13 games early in the year before George Buck Boucher replaced Eddie Girard as coach. And later on, Busher Jackson came into St. Louis and scored 4 goals in 1 period against the Eagles. That's a record that's been equaled by Max Bentley in 43, but never surpassed, although 2 Leaf players tonight have had 2 goals in a single period.
From the face-off, the Leafs are shorthanded. Horton has 54 seconds left in his penalty. St. Louis have a man advantage, 6 men to 5. And that's number 20, Ray Fortin, giving it to Al Iber. Al Iber at center, shot the puck over the Leaf line. It goes to the corner. Murray Oliver, number 11, off the boards, but not out. Fortin gets his shot. It's right in front of the net, and Bauer made the save. Another shot, and it goes wide. The puck is still in the Leaf zone. Here's a chance for Iber, going right in alone, a shot, and Bauer stopped that. Another shot. Bauer knocks it down, and Oliver shoots it down the ice. 13 seconds left in the penalty to Tim Horton. Toronto 6, St. Louis nothing. It goes up to Rupp, to Marcel Pronovo, over to Armstrong with Keon offside. 3 seconds left for Tim Horton.
Blues really coming close to getting one behind Bauer there. Sabourin, Fortin, St. Marseille all getting in front. St. Marseille had a remarkable 118 points in the International Hockey League last year with Port Huron. The Blues discovered him hiding in the bushes, so to speak, and he's played extremely well for them in the games played today.
All set to go. At center ice is Berenson. Melnick on the right wing. Don McKenney on the left. That's Jimmy Roberts playing on the defense along with Barclay Plager. Puck is up at center ice to Don McKenney, and Keon is there. A pass for Mahavlich. Mahavlich took a long shot. The rebound. Armstrong came after it. It's behind the net. Armstrong trying to center it. Mahavlich does. Roberts checked by Armstrong. Keon gets a hold of it. Mahavlich is in front. Keon tried to get it back, and Don McKenney comes up with Berenson, who didn't see the pass. Stanley chops at it. Melnick took a shot. Horton deflects it over to Armstrong. Up to Keon. Keon stops to Mahavlich, and he shot it wide. Armstrong took a shot that was stopped in front of the net. Armstrong gets a hold of it. It goes over Mahavlich's stick. Back to Horton. Horton lets a shot go, and he hit the side of the net. Armstrong is jammed by Roberts, but he fights for the loose puck. It's finally held there by Berenson. 17:57 left in the game. Toronto 6, St. Louis nothing.
Red Berenson wearing the helmet, wearing number 7, and Jimmy Roberts skating off, both former Montreal Canadiens. Berenson was with the New York Rangers before going to St. Louis.
Schock, McCreary, and Ecclestone on the forward line now for St. Louis. Picard and Bob Plager on the defense. Walton with Fulford and Ellis. Walton is given a shove by Bob Plager. Picard around the boards for Ecclestone. It goes out over the blue line, stopped by Rupp. Ahead to Pulford. Pulford was going the wrong way. Pulford tries again off the boards. McCreary shot it into the Leaf zone, and it's Marcel Pronovo going back. He clears it down the ice. Pulford goes after it into the St. Louis zone. Bob Plager fell. Pulford getting it back to Rupp. Here's the shot. And a nice save there by Cayley. It comes back again to Pronovo, a shot. Right in front, and it's grabbed there by Don Cayley.
Well, this young fella has played well. He's had some hot drives to stop, and boy, you're right when you say he looks like Sawchuk out there to a degree. It's a little early to give him that label yet, a second Terry Sawchuk, but we'll keep watching him.
Ready to go. Walton stopped by Ecclestone. Ecclestone with McCreary. It takes the pass at center. Takes the shot, goes over the line, lets it go wide. It's centered in front, and Pulford has it. A long pass for Ron Ellis. Ron Ellis going after it. Just failed to reach it. McCreary tips it back to center. Pulford has to skate back into his own zone. Over for Ellis. For Rupp. Knocking at the center. Bob Plager then to Crisp. Crisp shoots it in. Stopped by Pappen. Pappen's pass went right on Ecclestone's stick. He's leaving the ice. St. Marseille is on the forward line now at center ice for the St. Louis Blues. Sabrin is on the right side, Crisp on the left. Still in the Leaf zone. Marcel Pronovost giving it back to Rupp for Stamkowski. Up to Jim Pappen. Stamkowski is knocked into the boards by Picard. There's going to be a penalty there. And Stamkowski knew he was hit.
Well, it was right in front of the Leaf bench, and I imagine Picard was just trying to assist Stamkowski over the boards. It looked that way anyway. He averages about 150 minutes in penalties each season. He has 69 so far this year, not counting tonight.
St. Louis penalty to number 4, Picard. 2 minutes for boarding. The time, 3:45.
3:45 is the time of the boarding penalty to Noel Picard, his second penalty of the night. Mike Byers is out there for the third time in the game, playing on the right wing with Stamkowski at center. Carlton on the left wing, Hillman and Pappen. 4 forwards, 1 defenseman. They have the man advantage. Stamkowski's knocked down by Arbor. Fortan clears it out. Hillman then feeds it ahead to Stamkowski for Wayne Carlton. Carlton lets a shot go, and he hit the goal post. Goes back up the center ice. Pappen to Hillman. Over the line, Carlton for Stamkowski. Into the corner. He's given a bump. Al Iberg lifts a high one down the ice. Pappen going back for it. Giving it to Hillman. Back for Carlton. Knocking it behind the net. Crisp in the corner. Gets away from Pappen. Gets his skate on it. Kicks it loose to Stamkowski. Stamkowski with Pappen. Byers on the right. Up and over the line they come offside. Wayne Carlton. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. One minute and 1 second remaining in the penalty to Noel Picard. Leafs have a man advantage, 6 men to 5. Hillman to Pappen. Keon, Armstrong, and Mahavlich out there. Al Iber shot it over to Schock. Schock finds an opening, shooting it down the ice. Ecclestone goes after it. Hillman is there first to Keon. Back for Hillman. Up to Pappen. A long pass for Mahavlich. Mahavlich centers it back to Hillman. To Keon. Into Mahavlich. Gets it back to Hillman. Over to Pappen. There goes the shot. He scores! Mahavlich deflected Pappen's shot into the net.
Well, Mahavlich gets up into double figures, his 10th goal of the year on a deflection. There's the shot by Pappen. Mahavlich right to the side of the net. He has the stick there, as you see. Before Arbor can take him out of the play, Mahavlich has the puck in behind young Don Cayley. And it's 7-0, Toronto.
3 in a row by Frank Mahavlich, the hat trick, and it's 7-0 Toronto.
Number 27, Mahavlich. Assist number 18, Pappen, and number 2, Hillman. The time, 5:24.
5:24 is the time as Horton tries to get it out of the Leaf zone. Stopped by Berenson. Stanley then to Keon. He's checked by Berenson. Horton then steals the puck and comes down the ice with Mahavlich on the right. Horton back to Mahavlich. He waits. Pass it for Armstrong, and Armstrong just failed to get a shot. Armstrong is checked. Flipped up by Barclay Plager down the ice, and Stanley's back there for it. Ahead to Armstrong. Armstrong gets the puck. Shot it over the line. Jim Roberts gets it out. Then Stanley shoots the puck into the St. Louis zone. And the Leafs make a change. Walton with Ellis and Pulford. Gary Melnick now for St. Louis. Shot it in. Berenson went after it. Ellis covers up against the boards, and there's no further play. 13:31 remaining in the hockey game. Toronto 7, St. Louis nothing. So Walton scored the first 2 goals of the game. Then Pappen followed by Armstrong, and then 3 in a row by Frank Mahovlich. 8, 9, and 10 of the season. Pulford up to Ellis. Ellis over the blue line, cutting to the right side, let his shot go. Keeley made the save. Straight ahead to far for Berenson, and Stanley has it. Goes over to the right wing where Martin picks it off. He passed it to Berenson, who lost it to Ellis. With Walton, they're closing in to Pulford. A shot was right on. Ellis shoots. Oh, he hit the crossbar. Ellis hit the top crossbar as he flipped it over top of Keeley. Pulford to Stanley. Up to Walton. For Ellis. Ellis stops. Into Pulford. Back to Ellis. Right in on goal, and a shot was stopped by Roberts. He cut in front. Up to Don McKinney. He just flicks it into the lead zone, and it's Papin back for it. St. Marseille covered Papin. Pulford hit Horton. Here's the pass in front of the net. St. Marseille tried to flick it in, and Papin feeds Walton. Walton down the ice, over the line with Papin, closing in. There's the backhand, way wide. Comes out over the blue line on the shot. Papin gets it at the blue line, goes all the way back to his own, left it there. Rupp gets it. He shot it. Cleared on the wing. Gary Sabourin getting in front of the defense. A shot. Powers juggled it. The puck goes loose. Rupp gets a hold of it. Shoots it out to Papin ahead to Stamkowski. Stamkowski took a shot. He was knocked into the boards. The puck goes loose to Papin. He fanned on it. Carlton centered it. And it's picked up there. Sabourin missed a check from Stamkowski. Picard falls. Flicks it over to Bob Plager. Stamkowski covers him and falls. And ends up on the puck. 11:30 left in the hockey game. And this game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
Oh, it's 7-0 in favor of the Maple Leafs. Frank Mahovlich has completed his hat trick. And in this year, at least in the record books, it says Pat Quinn was a member of the St. Louis Blues very briefly and then traded to Toronto for Dickie Moore. Tell us about that story.
Well, we drafted Pat, and at the time, I don't really know, we had a few holes. Well, Al Arbor, he was holding out at training camp.
Along with the organist.
Yeah, no, this is the second year. But we signed Al Arbor to a 3-year contract, and we couldn't sign Pat Quinn. I mean, he and Lynn Patrick they couldn't get together on a contract. So I'm not as sure of the exact time, but we were looking through the list, and we knew that he wasn't going to come to St. Louis, so we looked through Toronto, and we needed somebody that we knew about, and Dickie Moore had played here, so we got Dickie Moore, and he had a great playoff for us.
Now, Dickie Moore, again, here's another getting an older player to fill an important role. Not that you haven't done that in the rest of the part of your career. I think of Chris Chelios arriving in Detroit being a pretty integral part of that. But Scotty, when you are a successful coach, many times that's it, is getting the one guy to fill an important role, and Dickie Moore was.
I think it's proved in the years that teams have won, they've always been able to add somebody at the right. It started, well, the Islanders with Butch Goring, and of course he went on and won 4 cups, but yeah, Moore, we had Doug Harvey in our organization, Jimmy Roberts, we picked up Jean-Guy Talbot, Red Berenson, so we had half a dozen players that had been with Montreal, and it seemed to work, and Dickie came in and did a great job for us.
Now, because you've had experience with Montreal, that makes it easier, doesn't it? You have some knowledge of these people. It's like Cliff Fletcher making the trade in '92 to get Doug Gilmour. He knew what he was getting.
Well, I was fortunate too that Lynn Patrick, he allowed me to use my experience in junior hockey. I'd been coaching in junior hockey for 10 years. That had helped me a lot because, especially in the OHA at the time, great players come out of the OHA. So I had a good background as those players, as they were opponents or played on teams that I coached for the next 10 years as they got in the NHL. That was a big producer for the NHL. So, I mean, and coming from Montreal, he leaned towards me to say, if the guy played in Montreal, let's try him. And I think that's what you have to do, is give a guy a chance, and you have to take chances.
You have to take chances. Truer words were never spoke. Well, the chance now is to try and score 7 because the Maple Leafs have a 7-0 lead over Scotty Bowman's Blues. Let's go back upstairs now to Bill Hewitt and Brian McFarland.
Bob Plager to St. Marseille. He fanned on a pass. Rupp trying to control it, gets it over the line. Stankowski steals it. Pass for Papin, and it was behind him. Noel Picard coming up for St. Louis. A pass for Terry Crisp is going the length of the ice. Marcel Pronovo goes back. Marseille covered him, but he touched it in time, and it's icing called against the Blues.
There's that young fellow we were talking about, Frank St. Marseille. Well, he's in his mid-20s, actually. 4 goals and 4 assists for 8 points this year. Once again, Keon, Mahovlich, and Armstrong come out. They've had a lot of ice time tonight. Mahovlich now with 287 career goals, so he should hit the 300 mark sometime this season.
And they face off. Back of the net for Fortin. Giving it to Schock. Schock is number 10. Back to Al Arbour. Arbour coming over the blue line to center. Mahovlich fell. Ecclestone fell with him. Up on his skates again. Arbour shoots the puck into the Leaf zone, and Frank Mahovlich is back for it. Mahovlich. Too far for Armstrong. Fortin gives it to Arbour. Arbour stopped by to Schock, stopped by Stanley, but it was offside. Billy McCreary went in on the left wing, number 15 of St. Louis.
And I imagine the unhappiest man in hockey today is Jack Kent Cooke. After opening the new Forum, the Palatial Forum in Los Angeles, Philadelphia came in and ruined it all with that 2-0 shutout over the Los Angeles Kings.
Fortin, a long shot. Bauer the rebound to Stanley, and he nearly handed it to McCreary of St. Louis. Here's a pass in front. Mahovlich gets a hold of it. Mahovlich to Horton. Horton is checked, kept in by McCreary. There's the shot, and it's going up into the end Blues at the south end. 10:19 left in the game. Toronto 7, St. Louis nothing.
President Clarence Campbell was out for the opening in Los Angeles today, along with Lorne Green, Jerry Lewis, Jack Lemmon, Jimmy Durante. CBS tried out some hockey television techniques that they learned from the producers of Hockey Night in Canada, and I understand Jack Kent Cooke has a talking scoreboard, Bill, but I know one thing, it better not talk while he's trying to get the stage.
Couldn't say anything if it was 2-0. Puck is in the Leaf zone, shot in offside as Schock was slow coming out.
Detroit leading Pittsburgh now 4-1 as Hampson has scored from Jarrett at 4:30 of the third period.
10-11 remaining in this hockey game. 7-0 Toronto. Hillman is coming out to replace Rupp. Walton, Pulford, and Ellis. Puck is shot to the far wing. Fortin, a long shot. Hillman stepped into Fortin. The rebound to Marcel Pronovo up to Pulford. 2 Blues players fell together. Ellis over the line with Walton, who takes the pass right in front of the net. Pulford, and he deflected a little skate. Wide of the net, a 3-way passing play. Hillman couldn't keep it in. Shot goes down the ice. 1 man back. It's Marcel Pronovo. There's the shot. It bounced high, and it went over top of the net, and Bauer didn't even see where it had gone. Pronovo off the boards, but not out. Ivor keeps it in. Getting another try with a backhand to Schock. Schock tried to center it. Here's Ecclestone to drive right in front, and Bauer hits the referee. Play is called.
Ouch. Boy, that must hurt. Hope he had the pad there. Here's the play again with Bauer. Watch now as the puck will sail high in the air off this shot by Ron Schock. There it goes. Bauer doesn't quite know what happened to it or where it went. He looks up, doesn't see it. It comes down and off the back of the net.
Oliver is taken over at center. Mahovlich has been put out on the left wing again. He's playing with Byers on the right side. A pass for Murray Oliver. Gets it into the St. Louis zone. Around on the boards for Melnick. Stopped by Rupp, who wrapped it into the corner again. Back for it is Barclay Plager. Oliver trying to get a hold of it. And back come the St. Louis Blues, led by Jim Roberts, number 6. A long shot into the corner. Byers gets the rebound. Shot it around to Mahovlich. Back for Horton. McKinney was all tied up. And Mahovlich, a long pass up to Oliver. Oliver over the line, a pass for Byers. Byers centered it in front. And it's cleared out to center ice. Melnick tried to get loose. Oliver tried to feed Mahavlich. Goes over to McKinney, stopped by Horton. Roberts stays out on the ice. Picard was going to come out. Horton turns. He's checked by Berenson. Rupp gets a hold of it. To Oliver. Oliver's checked in by Melnick, who shoots it back into the Leaf zone. Horton to Pappen. Pappen is checked. Here's a chance for Berenson. The three of them are going in with Chris. The shot, and Bauer stopped that. Melnick a shot, and Bauer stopped that one. Rupp. Back in the end of the corner to Horton. Pappen deflects it out over the blue line. Bob Plager to Crisp, number 19. Back in his own zone to Picard. Sabrin is out there. Picard shot hit Pappen on the ankle. Horton shoots it to the blue line and out. Crisp has it at center ice. Over to Picard. Picard takes a long drive off the boards. Bauer scooping it to Stemkowski. To Jim Pappen. Pappen races down the ice at center. Over the line. Stemkowski follows right in front, and Pappen missed it. It's Carlton for Pappen. Closing in, Picard had him covered. Carlton then took a shot to Pappen, and his backhand was wide. Carlton to Hillman, he shot it wide. Cayley giving it to Picard. Picard off the board, stopped by Marcel Pronovo to Pappen, carrying it back into the corner. And over the boards comes George Armstrong. Stemkowski and Bob Plager bumped together. Now it's Sabrin down the right wing for St. Louis. Lost possession of it. Gets it again. At center. To the Leaf line and over. Offside. St. Marseille on the left wing. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. Toronto 7, St. Louis nothing. 6:23 remaining in the game.
John Beliveau has a couple of points tonight. He has a career total of 969 now.
And they face off. Hillman to Kia to Armstrong. Over for Mahavlich. Mahavlich stops. Try to pass. Shot breaks up. Tries to race down the ice. Mahavlich gets in front of him and took it away from him. To Armstrong. Over to Keon. Keon goes over the line. Fakes a shot. Mahavlich cruising in. Keon stops again with it. Took a shot. Armstrong a backhand. That just missed the target. Hillman moves up to Mahavlich. Mahavlich turns. There's the shot, and he shot it 5 feet wide. Hillman tried to set up Mahavlich. Armstrong fell, and down the ice comes number 14, Tim Ecclestone, and he's stopped. Ecclestone a backhand right on a Marcel Pronovo's stick. To Armstrong. Armstrong checked by McCreary. Ecclestone again. A pass for Schock, broken up by Marcel Pronovo. Now it's Al Iber of St. Louis. Shot it into the Leaf zone. Bauer to Marcel Pronovo. Ahead to Hillman. Up to Ellis. Too far for Walton. Pulford races after it. Tipped it behind the net. Iber fell. Pulford fell too. And Berenson gives it to Don McKinney. To Berenson. Shot it over the line. Horton covers up. Rupp then to Pulford. To Walton. Walton over the line. Takes his shot. Ellis a rebound. He scores!
And it's 8-0 as Walton takes that pass. He's got Ellis on the right side. There's the shot. Now watch carefully as the rebound. Cayley has trouble clearing it. And Ellis, digging in there quickly, comes in to steal it off his stick and just park it into the net behind young Don Cayley.
Goal scored
15
by
for Ron
8,
Ellis.
Ellis. Assist number 16 Walton and number 20 Pulford. The time 15:22.
15-22, Toronto leads 8-0. Here's a chance for the backhand score! Red Berenson scored for St. Louis.
Well, the Leafs relaxed a little bit after that goal by Ellis. A few seconds later, there's the backhand by Berenson that catches the corner and catches the Leaf defenseman napping. Red Berenson scoring for the St. Louis Blues. Number 7, his 4th goal of the year. And he didn't score a goal for New York last year, although he was injured most of the season.
Number 7, Berenson. Assist, number 16, Melnick. The time, 15:39.
15:39 as Stamkowski steps into number 8, Barclay Plager. And there's a penalty to Stamkowski. His 2nd of the night. Four minutes and 11 seconds remaining in the game.
Number 12, Stamkowski. 2 minutes for tripping. Time, 15:49.
15:49. Murray Oliver out there with Rupp, Hellman, and Marcel Pronovo. Haley stops the puck back of the St. Louis net, and that's Bob Plager, at least Barclay Plager, number 8. Don McKenney, Red Berenson, Barry Melnick, and Jim Roberts. It goes into the elite zone. There's a shot that was just grazed off the shoulder of Johnny Bauer. That may have caught him on the neck. Lining up again, St. Louis have the odd man, 6 men to 5. Here it's back to Barclay Plager. Don McKenney. McKenney centering it. Berenson's shot was deflected out to center ice, off the leg. Jim Roberts ahead to Melnick for Berenson. Gets around Marcel Pronovo. There's his shot. Bauer juggled it, holds on to it, and there's no further play. 3 minutes and 25 seconds remaining in the game. Toronto 8, St. Louis 1.
Here's that shot by Berenson. He has a teammate handy for a pass, but he elects to shoot, having scored just moments earlier on a backhander. Bauer juggles it, but scoops up the rebound and clears it out of trouble as Berenson moves in looking for a rebound. There's Berenson going to the St. Louis bench. He was an All-American hockey player in college days.
All set to go. St. Marseille at center ice. Sabrin and Crisp on the wings. There's a backhand that goes to the corner. Bounces high. Stanley lost it. Goes to Crisp. Crisp gets it back to the blue line. There's a shot, and that was deflected wide. Stanley then for Keon. Keon to Horton. Horton overskates the puck. Crisp to St. Marseille. Keon covers him. They all pile in. The puck comes loose. St. Marseille covered Armstrong. Here's a shot. Horton blocked it. Back to Picard. There's his shot, and that one went up into the end Blues. And we have 2:45 left in the game. Toronto 8, St. Louis 1.
Talking about Beliveau scoring those 969 points, Bill. That's a record for a Montreal player. The Rocket had 965. And, of course, Gordie Howe is the all-time NHL leader with 1,533 points going into tonight's game. He had 665 of those were goals. The Rocket had 544 goals when he retired.
34 seconds left in the penalty to Stamkowski as the puck goes out over the blue line. Picard over on the wing, stopped by Marcel Pronovo, who cleared it down into the St. Louis zone. Picard with it again. Checked by Pulford. Pulford to Rupp. Over to Murray Oliver. Murray Oliver over the line. Trying to go around the defense. Gets his backhand. Keeley made the save. Goes near the front of the net. Another shot by Oliver, and that was wide. Sabrin coming out now for St. Louis. Up to his own blue line to center. To the Leaf line, stopped by Rupp. Stankowski is on the ice. Oliver over the line with Pulford, back to Pulford for Stamkowski. Stamkowski hit the back of the net. Sam Mercier is watched by Pulford. Cleared it around on this side. Tipped down by St. Marseille, and Marcel Pronovo's there again. He gets it to Pulford. Up for Walton. Walton takes a shot, then lets one go off Arbor's ankle. Stamkowski went after it. Brought down the ice now by Bob Plager. Tried to go around Rupp. Poked off to the wing. St. Marseille pulls away from Ellis. Tried to get out in front. Hit Marcel Pronovo. Walton shot it around. McCreary stops it for St. Louis. It comes to Pulford. Up for Walton. One man back. Walton getting ready to go, and he shot wide. Arbor up to center. Covered by Marcel Pronovo. Less than a minute to go in the game. Walton is checked. Rupp feeds Marcel Pronovo for Walton. McCreary shoots it over on the left-hand side for Schock. It's McCreary back to Bob Plager. Picked up by Jim Pappen. Pappen goes to the corner, shot it back. Bob Plager gets it. He's getting set, passed it right to Schock, right in front of the net, a shot. And Bauer lies down and covers up. Game is coming here from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. 33 seconds left.
And on the out-of-town scoreboard, Bill, Detroit 4, Pittsburgh 2.
Toronto 8, St. Louis 1. Armstrong, a quick pass to Keon, going down to Mahovlich. One man back to Mahovlich. He's closing in the pass, and Keon couldn't deflect it. It's Armstrong after the puck. He holds it there with 17 seconds left in the game. Toronto leading St. Louis 8-1. Walton scored twice in the first period, then Pappen. Armstrong and two by Mahovlich in the second period. Mahovlich, Ellis, and Berenson in this final period. Berenson's goal came at 15:39. 17 seconds remaining. Walton is out on the ice. It's Keon, Mahovlich, Armstrong, Horton, and Walton. From the faceoff, Keon after it. Keon stole the puck, centered it. Walton moves up. Armstrong is there, keeps it in with 5 seconds. The puck goes high. Walton gets a hold of it. Took a shot. The bell goes. And the game is over. As the Toronto Maple Leafs defeat the St. Louis Blues by a score of 8-1, and there are balloons coming down from the rafters. As we wish everyone everywhere a very happy, prosperous New Year 1968. Mahovlich centers it back to Hillman. To Keon. Into Mahovlich. Gets it back to Hillman. Over to Pappen. There goes the shot. He scores! Mahovlich deflected Pappen's shot into the net. To Berenson. Shot it over the line. Horton covers up. Rupp then to Pulford. To Walton. Walton over the line. Takes his shot. Ellis the rebound. He scores!
The time, 15:22.
15-22. Toronto leads 8-0. Here's a chance for the backhand score! Red Berenson scored for St. Louis.
Frank Mahovlich and Ron Ellis add goals. Red Berenson gets one for the St. Louis Blues, but it's too little too late as the Maple Leafs sail to an 8-1 victory on home ice on December 30th, 1967. You're watching Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV. Maple Leafs win handily, but the St. Louis Blues will go on to represent the Western Conference and in the Stanley Cup Final. And an opportunity to go back, I guess. This had to be very special for you, going through the Canadiens organization. Toe Blake had to be your mentor, I'm sure, and then to be looking across the ice in the Stanley Cup final against Toe Blake and his Canadiens.
Well, you know, we were on a real high. We'd won the 2-7 game series. I think the Stanley Cup final started very quickly after we knocked out Minnesota. A couple of days, and we're right back into it. We had the first 2 games at home. And we caught a good break. Jean Beliveau broke his ankle in the previous series for Montreal. And, you know, we went into overtime, I think, the first game. And when I look back now, we're disappointed we lost 4 straight. But 2 of the games went into overtime. There's been a lot of sweeps since then. And I thought our team, going in, we were really nervous and wondering, can we make it close? And we surprised ourselves. And, of course, as I said before, Glenn Hall was the difference, and we gave them all they could handle, and it was kind of bittersweet when I got knocked out in Montreal, and that's where they won the cup. Toe Blake had announced before the series or game that this was his last game, and to lose to Toe Blake in a series like that wasn't all that bad a few years later.
It is ironic, isn't it? You're there for his 8th Stanley Cup, and you go to the final 3 times. And don't win, and now you're sitting here with 9 Stanley Cup rings.
Well, yeah, and you know, after the first 3 losses and not even winning a game, you wonder if you're ever going to win a game in the final. But things turned around, and I think it proves that if you get with a good team and you get the right combination, you can win, and that's what happened to me. I went back to Montreal at the right time. The team was on the ascent. They had a lot of great draft choices, and the team grew up together. It's similar to what Edmonton did and the Islanders that won their 4 cups. And I think that's what happened. And going back to Montreal was a dream for me because I'd grown up in the system. I had got a lot of experience in St. Louis, but never was able to win a cup.
9 of them. Is there any one that's more special than the others?
Up till this year, the first cup a coach wins. That's what you think about, is that sort of like a stay of execution. If you win a cup, you know, I think maybe Terry Crisp wouldn't agree with that. He won a cup in Calgary, but you know, you win. That's what every coach wants to do, is get his name on the Stanley Cup. You couldn't do it as a player, and that's the big thrill. I know a lot. I guess I know a lot. The clinching game that we won in '73, I was with Montreal. I know who scored in the game. I remember all about that. I don't remember as much about the next 4 cups in Montreal, but I think I'll remember the last cup in Detroit because it's been my last cup, and that's the memory that I'll probably treasure as well as the first cup.
Well, we're sorry to bring you back to December 30th, 1967 and get whomped 8-1 by the Maple Leafs, but we do really want to thank you for coming back and joining us, Scotty. It's a pleasure to chat with you. You're a great individual of the game, historian of the game, and obviously the greatest coach that's ever been participating in this sport, and we want to thank you for sharing a little of that with us today.
Thanks a lot, Joe. I thought it was a setup.
You know what it was? Because we could have gotten one that you actually were close, but we didn't want to do that. So we'll show you. Scotty Bowman, our guest, we thank him for joining us. And it's been a painful night for him and the St. Louis Blues. They lose 8-1 to the Maple Leafs. Things would get better for Mr. Bowman as things would go on in his career, however. You're watching Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV.
Molson Canadian Sunday Night Classics on Leafs TV. It's a Canadian game. Brought to you by Molson Canadian.